I'm here to talk about this alligator issue, the alligator issue.
Okay.
And I appreciate the guidance that's been put out, last year on how to properly, report a nuisance alligator, with the goal of protecting residents. What I'm concerned about is, how about the animal, how about the alligators themselves? And, you know, they live a long time, they usually don't bother anybody except they, tilapia or some, you know, turtle or something like that. But then some residents, they get freaked out and, called to have it killed. Or, sometimes they trapper will kill them and take them. And in the past, I've run across occasions where a trapper showed up, and did not have a permit. I had researched it after the fact. So how do we protect alligator trappers that aren't following the law, or freaked out residents, who don't understand the value of alligator to the ecosystem, not to mention the beauty of them in nature. So I'm also protecting residents, don't get me wrong. I'm also protecting, or protecting wildlife and the alligator. And so the guidance that was issued is good, I believe, but I think we can do a little better, whether it's in our community, or further than that. So I had some questions or some thoughts perhaps that we can consider, in the future here as we develop something better, maybe in the community or in addition to the guidance that's already published and issued by the state as well, from FWC. Is the trapper allowed open season hunting on alligators if they have permit? And the reason I asked that question is, this weekend there was a trapper in the community at a dead alligator in the back of his truck. And he apparently told another resident that he was going to take 2 more. And so what I'm wondering is, can they take as many as they can find? Another thing, can a trapper be challenged, for example, at a gate like our community, to have them produce a permit that they're supposed to have to take an alligator out about 1 or 1 pounds or 1 CDD pounds? Is there a penalty, a severe penalty perhaps, for a trapper that's operating outside of the law? If that was discovered, in guidance on how to report alligators be published at least annually, particularly during mating season when they're more active and swimming around the ponds, so people don't think they're being followed. Can communities develop their own guidance for entry of trappers into the community? For example, no, you can't come into our community unless you can prove or present that permits that you're supposed to have. I realize that education is a big part of this. I really do. I do understand that CDD has to actually get a call because of liability issues. I do understand that. And so whether it's more education, continual education, re-residence orientations, and all these things to educate people, I think we can probably do better at those things, but I'll look forward to further discussion.
Well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate your comments.
Morning, everybody. My name is Dan Barry. I live at 3600 Munson Circle. We're in Heritage Isle. I've got a concern. We're coming up to hurricane season once again. I've only been a resident for about 9 months. We had the one wannabe storm that came through last fall. The storm drain, and it's not keeping up with the water flow on Munson Circle. It was to the top of the curve. I had sent an email. Brian actually replied to me last year. It was checked the next day and the water had subsided. The water's always going to subside when the rain quits. The concern is, are the storm drains clean? Has anybody checked them? Is there an engineer? Is there anybody that comes in and checks these? One of the residents told me a year and a half ago, something was addressed, but they didn't know what. He was working underground construction. I know storm drains get filled up with debris, with sand, dead alligators, could be Jimmy Hoffa's body, who knows? It needs to be checked, cleaned, and if it can't keep up with the water flow that's coming, then the residents are gonna flood, we're gonna have liability issues, we're gonna have lawsuits on and on and on. If the storm drain isn't large enough to handle the capacity, it needs to be enlarged. A lift station put in to absorb that extra water flow. Could be the ponds need to be dredged to absorb more of the water, to hold more of the water when we get into these situations. I understand we can't control nature, but it's inherent that we do what we can to make sure that our homes aren't flooded out. And I understand that it's the CAD's responsibility to protect, maintain, and take care of our storm drain issues. I just want to bring that to your attention. We're potentially 3 to 4 months from hurricane season. We didn't hit until October, November, but it takes a while to get engineers, to get sewer cleaners, whatever it takes. And I can go lift up the manhole cover myself and see if there's something in there. I prefer not to, but I used to do that for a living, but it needs to be checked, please.
Thank you for your comments. We do cover that, and every hurricane season, I put out a memo expressing what can happen. And yes, it can go up, and if you'll notice that all of the houses that are built in our development, they're all built on a slant. All your driveways are on a slant. It's got 4 to 5 inches between where your garage door is and where the actual street is, about 4 or 5 inches.
Ours is closer to 2 feet.
Okay, but the whole storm drain are checked. We do that, that's a normal process. They're checked, they're cleaned out. We spent an enormous amount of money doing that. Probably spent $40,000 or more doing that. We pay to bring in people and honors our district engineer. So we have engineering staff available at all times. This, the part that we're responsible for is the underlying stuff that you don't see. All of the stuff under the ground that makes the community work, that's our responsibility. There's $30 million worth of stuff under the ground that you don't see that we manage and take care of to keep things kind of floating. But yes, we do that. And it can come up to the sidewalk, that's fine. We know it dissipates. And we've had storms, nothing like what you just saw, that's nothing. We've had it where the water comes up and all the streets are full with water. That's okay. That's normal. Then it subsides through the night. So that's normal. That's a normal bad, really bad hurricane. That's normal. But that's what the storm drains are built for. And it goes from our community, all of our water flows north and goes into the St. John River, which is about a few miles over to the west. All the water in this area, all of the developments are interconnected. All of the water of all the ponds, all the developments are interconnected. That water flows. Stuff that's south of us starts to flow south. We flow north. The St. Johns River is one of those rivers that don't flow south, it flows north. So, but we do check that. And we'll send out certainly another memo just to advise people who are new to the community and don't realize, yes, at a major hurricane, that's why we say, stay inside. You got no business going out checking water. That's what we do. We take care of it.
Yeah, I can see it from my window, talk to my neighbor.
It happens and it flows right down.
Prior years with the major storms we had, that it got to the garages. And again, we've got potentially 2 feet from street bed to our garages.
Yeah.
And if it rolled up 2 feet, that's getting real iffy into the whole drywall.
We understand that and we're aware. And
Just
yes,
making sure that they are checked, they are clean. I don't know how often it's done.
we check it on a rotating schedule. But it's part of our responsibility as district engineer to advise me that it's time to need to get checked. She gives us a call, we ask people come in and they dredge it, clean out the silt that goes down the drains and so forth. But yes, that's a normal operating project for us.
Just want to make sure we weren't neglected.
So glad, thank you for bringing it up and giving us a chance to let people know that's part of what we do. Any other comments, Chief?
name is Julie Cook and I live in Heritage Island, 3437 Farragut Place. And there it's about alligators. I'm a snowbird. I ride my bike every morning. And, you know, my husband does too, and we have contests on how many alligators we see sunfeed. So everything that's been happening for animal lovers and all these people here are for the same thing. And the two things I wanna know about is I just heard that when a trapper gets permission to come, he has 45 days for that license or whatever to come morning, night, afternoon for 45 days in case how many animals that they want. That's what I was told.
You should be told by anyone.
Okay.
You need an
That's what I
answer.
want.
That's
That's why we're here. Please
kind
tell
of what we do.
me. Yeah, that's what I want to know. Yeah, and another one, just one more thing. When I've gone to the clubhouse and this is the thing, anybody can walk by and say, oh, there's an alligator there sunning, his mouth is wide open. We all know when he's sunbathing to stay warm, but then they call in and say, oh, there's an alligator, they're scared. So they get called and they come in and get trappers. That's not right to be coming in just because we need more evidence that this alligator is aggressive and it's just can't, we just can't have anybody call and say, this, you know, here's this alligator. That's not right for the alligator, you know? So that's why I'm just like, I'm bringing, what can we do?
Thank you for coming this morning. I'll give you. Here's what the law is. And being a governmental agency, we have to follow the Florida law. The Florida law is if an alligator is over 4 feet long, they shouldn't be in our ponds. I didn't make the law, and so I can't answer why. I didn't, you have to go to the Florida Senate. We don't make the law.
They could move them.
We don't make the law. We have to follow the law. And if you have a concern, contact your Florida legislature. Okay? We don't change, but we have to follow the law. Okay? If an alligator is over 4 feet, they consider that to be dangerous. Now, the only time we call and we have to sign off on when somebody calls, a homeowner cannot legally call and say, I've got an alligator, you all need to come and get it. It's not because you don't own the pond. We do.
But they are doing.
So we're the only ones who can call and sign off on having the trapper come in to remove a nuisance alligator. What has been out on, what has been our policy is that we find if there's a nuisance alligator, that means if one has been aggressive, if your grandchildren running around your yard get close to the pond and the alligator sees them, that can aggravate them and frankly make them come up. So we try to tell people when you have little visitors coming, do not let them run by the pond because that frequently brings up the alligators. If you're walking your dog near the pond, that's another thing. There have been incidences where in developments like ours in Florida, where there have been residents taken out and eaten by alligators because they were too close to the water and they weren't paying attention. So that's why the laws are in place to protect you, your grandkids running around and your dog that are running around. So that's why the laws are in place. We didn't make them, but we do have to follow them. So if somebody calls our office and says they've seen an alligator, seeing one is not a panic issue. If one has been aggressive and it's over 4 feet, it is by law our responsibility to call and have FWC come in, have a trapper come in who has a permit to come in and get that particular alligator. They don't have license to just go running around our entire community snatching up alligators. No, that's not true. We call them up. Pardon me?
See, that's what's
No,
happening.
the people who call us have to say, here's what's happening. We ask the question, what's what,
What are they
did you
doing?
just see one? Did it make any aggressive moves towards you? Pardon me?
Or I heard.
I heard, but what I don't do is listen to heard. That's not. Brian gets the call, all right, you wanna respond?
Yeah, from what's been reported, they removed more than a fair.
So now, but why? What's the aggression?
So this is, today's point, this is a state policy, right? So it's just, the unfortunately doesn't have any jurisdiction to mandate what the city has put in place. So here's the issue, that the resident does call in our office and express their safety concerns. We actually cannot challenge and say, well, are you feeling unsafe? They're gonna say legitimate. If the moment they tell me that their safety is in jeopardy, by law, to their point, I have to report it. And that's.
We had
That,
Well, agree.
and that's the state, that's the concept there. Correct, we would, and, you know, obviously the comments are well welcome, and we follow up when there's an issue, but we have with your state policy.
Ask them, down there, do they come in active, or can you say, were you just walking there and his son's eating with his mouth open, you felt threatened?
And we do, right? We ask like, what was the incident? And to Jay's point, when they describe, I was walking my dog and it hissed at us and it made a daring approach. I have to take them at their word.
Even though you know it could be a lie.
Correct. I can't say, hey, give me video documentation or.
We don't do investigations. That's not our role. Our role is to say, if your neighbor sees an alligator and it's somehow threatened by that, our job is to take care of you guys. We don't want to see any of you hurt by an alligator. So we don't investigate, but we might ask a question. What happened? Why are you calling? Tell us what your concern is. You know, we do.
Emergency. Just because we didn't account.
No, that's not an emergency stop. Yeah, you go to the state, that's a state law. And you go to FWC, has a website. Yeah. Florida Wildlife Commission. They have officers, they got the guys with badges. They're the guys that go out and get the bad guys that go and do stuff in the wildlife. But they're the people in charge of all of that. When you read what the rules are, they're on the website, the FWC website about alligators and so forth. They're right there on the website. So what we do is we're following guidance of the FWC and also trying to protect your grandkids and your dogs and you from any wildlife that's in our area. But we've had people come before us about this issue before over the years, but it's not a new issue. But and typically it's people that are frankly rather new coming south and haven't seen an alligator.
That's being alligator.
And they do. We're so lucky. We actually have a zoo right near here, and you can go enjoy them all day long. They're different. Yeah, that becomes the white stuff.
There's an election coming up on April 1st, when 3 people running, and if you want to bring the issue of alligators up, that's what you consider voting on.
Yeah.
The point that Shane made, I'll repeat it again, is we don't have it in our hands. State and make sure that we don't keep any liability. And that's how we protect you. That's the other side of the coin. If we have an auction, that's a not small one. We're not gonna worry about it. And we just let it go. And God forbid something happens, we'll be that suit up. You'll work in the morning, you'll be in here interviewing every single house. So we have these laws made by the state. Unfortunately, you have to follow them. And he's right. A lot of people are afraid of them. A lot of people are not. I'm an animal rights guy. I generally have about 3 of them behind my pool, especially during the next 3 months, which are mating season. I never call them. I've been farming 25 years. My kids used to feed them chicken. But we did down south. I'm not complaining, but, you know, I think recently that in a community with 1,606 homes and we've got to protect. I appreciate everything, but the gentleman that came up first said, education. Gotta teach everyone, they don't leave you, leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. However, it's faulty, it's like to run up, they'll do things. And that's good. I appreciate all your comments, today about the movie rights, the 100 guys by state, luckily the guys by states, we don't have that liability.
We will send out another memo with regard to our policies, with regard to alligators, just as an informational, note to all of the residents about what we do with regard, because we understand that the stuff on Facebook and so forth, none of that is legally supported by what we do. So it's just hearsay, but we will send out a memo with regard to how we handle this alligator thing. We've sent them out before over the years, so we'll put another one out just to let people know what the facts are from our standpoint, and we are the responsible party within our development.
And reads a memo going out, should say, do not feed them chicken. That's what creates a lot of the problems.
Yeah,
The gators coming to people,
that's,
is they've been fed. So if any of your neighbors or residents are on a regular basis going out and feeding breadcrumbs, please don't.
right. Discrimination. Or, you got, yeah.
Glenn Hoffman, 3250 N Street. Thank you. I just had a question about the procedure, in regards to notifying the CDD. I think, I don't know, maybe even be, let the people know to maybe notify the police or sheriff's first.
Sheriff, no responsibility inside our development. Unless somebody has got into an issue, but we don't call the police for an alligator.
Well, the thing is with that is a person would maybe be more reluctant, to lie to the, a 911 call rather than to you. I'm a former law enforcement officer, so I maybe I'll look at things differently. I understand your position, but, I understand a couple years ago, there was the incident around the corner from movie off and Henry Valley was taken out, but the law enforcement was there and then he tracked. And, when the law enforcement gets involved, believe me, I was a police officer for 20 years and sometimes you get aggravated, again, balls, silly stuff or whatever. But when you're there, it's a little more controlled. It's nothing against you all, but, you have your job, they understand that. But when law enforcement gets involved, sometimes it's a little bit different. Someone's not gonna lie as quick to law enforcement as they would to you. They'll just respect, and people, you want to say they tell the truth, then you have your job to do. But, I understand your thing. I don't understand the whole thing with the legality of law enforcement not allowing to die. It's the county, if you're in the county, it's not sovereign property, I think. So, I don't know, if there's somebody that came to the season.
Because we don't know when the trapper's coming. We advise them to come out. We have to approve them to come out. Then that trapper has several days before they come out, and still, they don't necessarily come out right away. So you can't call the law enforcement guy because you don't know when the trapper's coming.
Like I say,
We told the guardhouse people, and there should be something in the guardhouse that tells them when the trapper comes, you check the license and all that kind of stuff. If not, we will follow up and find out if that's still there, because we have done that to make sure that the guards know, even if the trapper comes, she's got to show the license he's got.
well, that's another thing, you can come and find, if the law enforcement went there, take a license. They could show a fake license at the guard booth, and now your health is fine. If you show a fake license to law enforcement, that's a crime. But that doesn't mean you did.
I hear you, but what happens is that person coming, the trapper, has to show his driver's license as well as his FWC license.
Right.
So that we know if he's not doing something correct, we've got his driver's license. That's why all the people that come in and, have to show their driver's licenses, we keep a record of that at the clubhouse.
Okay. Yeah, you think, well, I didn't have your position, but it'd take a little bit of a workload of you and make things more lawful, because like I say, lying to law enforcement is supposed to lie to you. you know, a lot of you guys, and, you know, you're kind of in the middle, and I understand that, but, you know, when you deal with law enforcement, it's a little bit different, so. But I'm just, you know,
Remember, it's not for what he did, he does get paid. So he's gotta have a gator. So he has to have that license number, he has to show his driver's license, so we know who he is. Then he's gotta do what he did.
yeah, well, I understand that part, that kind of secondary, but, law enforcement showing up, and then the gate is gone, or there's nothing happening, then, you know, you pull over, you know, respond, you know, whatever, but,
I understand what you're saying, you can't have you out there for 20 minutes.
yeah.
You know, that's the problem, we knew he was coming that exact time, that
Right.
he raised.
Yeah, there's no like,
Like, when they stop and tell the residents, stop yelling and screaming back and forth, that you hear police.
there was no emergency response, like, if you call, no,
But he does have to prove he isn't.
Yeah.
You just can't have a truck and walk in and that's it.
so, so there wouldn't be any, you know.
Well, I'll be this way. I don't have an answer for you about that today.
Yep.
We will double check that, but our current procedures are the procedures that are done by other CDDs.
Right.
Brian can look into that,
Yeah.
if that makes sense, but we appreciate your comment.
Because
We're,
sometimes, you know, I really respond very quick.
they do for issues, but I don't know if that's, they respond with regard to the alligator issue.
Well, like,
Because they know that's FWC area, so they come out with that.
Address this really quickly. So their policy mandates that we cannot, once that they have, achieved their permit, we cannot intrude in any way, and that would also coincide with reaching out to law enforcement. So again, the issue that we're facing is once they, if I wanted to or the residents to contact the police officer, even if I put that memo, if they contact me, I still have to report it.
yeah,
You know, there's like, I can't force the resident to call the cops. You know what I mean? So that's to everybody's point. We have to reach out to the state to see if there's something that could be done, which I will be transparent, that will be a hard battle, but, you know.
because you think that, you know, that you want, well, kind of involved, but then you think like.
The resident know it's called.
Yeah, yeah.
If anybody's there and you're feeling threatened for any reason, because I know they use firearms,
Right.
you can't call, and I think somebody did call in the most recent event.
Right.
They just didn't end up getting there in time. But not to beat this up too much, we do have to move forward. We just have to do our due diligence. If anybody wants to call law enforcement, please do so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
I'd like to clarify something that, because Facebook was mentioned. People put things on Facebook that isn't necessarily true. When I read comments that say they let them in, they didn't have a permit, or they didn't have approval from the CDD, they have no idea if that's true or not. I do know that property that was in, was it yesterday, the day before? I absolutely made a call to ensure that he had a permit and it was approved by the CDD. So when you hear these things that are just general comments, they're making assumptions that are not true.
Yeah, if you want to know the facts, please give us a call. If there are CD issues, that's why we have a day-to-day operations officer to handle and get that. I mean, anything other than alligators,
Yes, that's later. Just a quick, Peggy Thoreau, 6848 Toland. It's sounding to me that we really need to step up the education, like monthly. I know there was some kind of wildlife person brought in October. Most of the snowbirds, like ourselves, aren't even here in October, so perhaps the person that reported it, doesn't know any of that information. So I think it should be done repeatedly, monthly, for those that come down, various months. So, where it's a process for the alligators.
if we would hope that people who are even snowbirds have email registered with the clubhouse, so they can get email no matter where they physically are on the planet.
Correct. We haven't received anything other than that.
We should check. Well, they've changed the whole email system over the last year or so. You might want to double check with the clubhouse to ensure that your email is on the new system that they put together that started, I think, sometime late last year.
I just feel like it all could have been avoided with more education.
Yeah.
We will ramp up the information that goes out with regard to that, but it's about every year, every couple of years, this comes up and then we get a crowd of people that are alligator lovers that come to a meeting. It kind of rubs up, but every couple of years, we'll get the alligator supporters that show up at a meeting, and we're delighted to have you at our meeting. Believe me, we are. Sir. 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Peter Rich. I live in 2990 Ansel. Now, I've seen many people put themselves in danger with the alligators, and there are notices of no feeding the alligators in many of the ponds. I've oftentimes seen younger boys coming in and fishing right there, and they are often, not always, with older people, maybe their grandfathers, maybe their uncles or whatever, but they're also there, and they're standing there fishing in numerous ponds. You see them all the time, even the one at the back gate. There's many. There's always someone there fishing. What I want to know is, what can one do when one sees that? If you go out and say, you can't fish here, and I've done that, I know the fact that shouted to people, you can't fish here, they come back, they go there, and they start fishing again. Now there's two things. It jeopardizes the alligators, which is I'm concerned, a more higher concern is the fact that these people fish and feed them. So the people that come along and fish, the people that come along and feed them, including chicken is a good idea, but with breadcrumbs and stuff, pieces of bread. I cleaned it just a couple of days ago, right outside my place. So what does one do if you see people down there fishing, throwing breadcrumbs or whatever else, right? They're trying to get the alligator's attention, because in my book, once you start making an alligator familiar with the presence of humans and food, you cause a big danger to both of them and us, because then the alligators come off the pond and come to, oh, there's a human. Oh, we get fed. Why don't we? So that's what I would like to know. And what do we do as residents when another person, possibly another resident, probably someone that has knows someone here, what do we do? What can we do to enforce that they do not feed the alligators?
We thank you all, fish. Appreciate your comment. We've got signs up in every pond that's just do not do this, do not do that, no fishing, no, that's our job is to get the signs out there so we educate the people of that. If they were to show up, and I've seen people fishing and people have called the police on them. I have seen them more often, unbelievably. They think this is a great fishing hole. And I think they do that around other places, but our place is the older property around here. And so they feel really comfortable coming here. You see the kids skating through here and, riding their bikes and that Legacy is a public highway, even though it's gated. They have county money building that road. So it in fact is a road that can be used by anyone. So if you kids come through here riding their bike, there are people from other developments on the north and the south riding their bikes through here. That's actually legit. But I don't like seeing one, they shouldn't be on the sidewalk with a bike. That's another thing we're putting up, getting ready to put signs up about that. We sent out memos about that. No bike riding on the sidewalks. That's why there's a bike lane on the streets that you see. We are trying to educate people to what the right thing to do. Now, seeing the people fishing, I don't know what we can do, or we need to bring in law enforcement with regard to anytime we see that happening. I would think the police would think that's a nuisance call, but I don't know. We haven't had a specific issue with regard to that, Brian?
Not currently.
Okay. We'll take a peek into what we actually can do legally. There's certain things that we can do. There's certain things that are literally outside of our power. So, we'll take a look into that. We do appreciate your comments, and that is an unnerving thing to see people come drive up their cars on the banks on Wickham Road. You'll see pulling to the side, they come and try to get in the water. If they go to the further area on the west side, they'll go try to go fishing there. So, we'll take a peek into that, but thank you for your comments. We appreciate you coming.
Okay, and would you issue something to us to doubt what we can do?
Quarterly newsletter.
When we find out something that can be done, we'll educate you. We'll send out a memo regarding.
Either way, would you let us know?
Yes.
We can do that.
We will add it to the newsletter, yes.
Okay, we have to move our meeting along, but thank you for all your public comments. This has been a fairly large public comment time, but we appreciate you coming, and thank you for your comments. Moving along, community update with regard to Hoover presenting their semi-annual report. Hoover are the people that manage our day-to-day irrigation pipes and so forth. There's a report coming in, I think physically here or online. That's the report.
This is the report, and do we have somebody on the call for Hoover?
Well, one more information is you have to say
We have somebody on the call for Hoover?
Yeah, Nathan from Hoover's here. It's not that easy to hear. I'm driving, but hopefully you can hear me okay.
Loud and clear, yeah, we're just looking for the report on the provided Hoover report for the 6-month update. CDD, 6-month status update.
Couple of bullet points for us.
Right, so you received a 6-month, we call it a flow guard report for each pump station. You know, you're doing things better than you have in the past. I'll give you kudos for that, at least with using water windows that we recommend, which keeps the pump stations isolated from the field when you're not running water. I'll still harp on, and I know this is going to be an echo and a sore spot to some people, but you know, both pump stations still remain open to one another, which is not the best thing for operational needs and the longevity of the equipment. And as I mentioned, the water windows, whenever you get the report in front of you, you know, you're going to see a disparity between the pump starts between the north station, which is the older one, and the south station, which is obviously the newer one. But since they are open to the main line at the same time, you know, the one is cycling throughout the day when the irrigation isn't being run for wet checks. And it's kind of being obscured by the fact that the other one isn't cycling. So it kind of gives you a misrepresentation that, you know, things are good on one end and things aren't on the other. It's just the consequences of one cycling and the other isn't just because of your field leaks. So the recommendation is, you know, you have water windows that are open from 8 to 4, Monday through Friday, but not every day is water being run from the pump stations. There aren't wet checks happening for that time span every day or sometimes any day. So it would be good if some of those behaviors are reduced a little bit to keep the pump stations isolated more to the field, so the leaks don't cause that cycling activity, which wastes energy, wear and tear on the system, and beats up your main line, and then causes the main line breaks that are costly to repair. And that's really the gist of what was thrown out there. You know, you do have the water quality issues that we tackle with, you know, the filtration systems that are on both your pump stations. I know the north station needs the discs cleaned. I think we proposed that. I'm not sure where that stands right now. But I think that was all. And I'll let you throw some questions at me.
I think the disc, hey, this is Ken. I think the disc, cleaning proposal was approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was already approved before. But yeah, we need to get that done.
Okay, great.
Do you have any comments about the water windows?
I mean, we can make adjustments because there are days for wet check and days we
You
fix.
can tap on the bottom and turn the mic switch.
Yeah, I mean, we can tweak the water windows, you know, obviously, because there are days we check and the days we fix. You know, I can go into that more, try to stop, you know, the hammering that's happening.
Okay.
That should help some. I'll come up with a schedule for it.
Maybe tweak it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with that said, I mean, you do have the ability, and, you know, it's a convenience factor of keeping it open all day from 8 to 4, but if there are days that activities aren't going to happen, perhaps you're better off using the bypass and just hitting that every 2 hours, or we could even extend that duration if it's going to be helpful. But I know behaviors change, routines change, and you don't always need stuff. And I think I see where the valve's closing, perhaps. Now, maybe it's all automated, but nevertheless, it's better than it was before, but still room for improvement.
Absolutely. I want to thank you, Nathan, for the good service we've received from Hoover over the past number of years. We really appreciate it. And I want to thank you.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure.
You're very welcome, and thank you for the opportunity to keep service in the community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See your trucks around the neighborhood from time to time, so we know you're out here watching and looking over things.
They're on the ball.
As a question, do we have any plans of working on the system to try to stop the, to do that disconnect that we have talked about before?
We had talked about that when that got put on hold. I can certainly reevaluate that. It appears that there might be a rear yard interconnection, because when we looked at those connections along the roadway, exercise that valve, and exercising fine, but closing it didn't make any change.
No. Didn't do
It didn't do anything. So there's got to be a secondary connection to it.
And this is the first time I've heard Uber say that would be a good thing to do, and if that's the case, it wasn't our intent
So Hoover
not
said,
to do.
yeah, no, Hoover said all along that
All right, okay.
separating those two systems is gonna help longevity, otherwise they're fighting each other, right? So we don't want that to happen, which is why we started that exercise, we're trying to figure out how to isolate it, and now we then found it out. But it's got, I was told to put that on pause, and I told it.
We gave it that one tap. That was the valve that we could just turn and close, and we separate the north from the south,
Yeah, I recall that.
and that failed. I mean, we can revisit it again,
There's gotta be,
that's fine.
there must be a second. legal.
I think,
In my struggle is that, we have asked for this for the main lane systems, but I don't have it for what was put in the lines on the back of the lakes, like that's not part of an engineering scope, so we don't have any field data on it.
Yeah.
I think there's gotta be a backdoor connection to it somewhere, and I'm sure we can figure out how to separate it. We have to make sure that we separate it correctly and for education, so that you don't unknowingly sever another portion of the community now it gets no irrigation anymore.
Well, that's why we have to decide was it isn't worth the risk. Hurting the system.
Yeah.
Can we put that in the schedule as a point to do a tracing to see if we can find out where that is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to sound like it's problematic. There are ways to do it. I don't think because of the age of the community, I would be shocked if there's any tracing wire on the river main line. And I'm not talking about the smaller system, the one here that have inch lines on the block, 4-inch, 2-inch line along the banks. I'll pull it as look back out, try to trace it out and look and see if we can find any logical point of connection that might have been, created, and that I can work with Juniper to try and field verify and looking at it, see if we can narrow it down.
The risk that we had, the risk that we had, potential requirement, dig up the street.
Yeah.
That would be a huge investment to do that without having specifics on where that needs to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we put it on the shelf, hoping that one valve that's near the pump in the clubhouse, when we closed it shut and got a hold of Hoover within what, 10 minutes?
Yep, and they really,
Check the data coming out of the flow guard system. It indicated that it was not separated. So that's kind of where we stopped, right then and there.
That was tearing up streets like
We don't want to be tearing up streets to do this, okay? So maybe just a revisit,
yeah,
and maybe to be able to detect some other way we can actually separate.
I suspect that there's gotta be an interconnect. That, at the time, does it make sense to interconnect the system to boost the power and yes, it does. You also have to remember that the entire community worked off of one pump for a very, very long time. And so the second pump, came on after the fact. So there's just gotta be a backdoor interconnect that I don't know about, but I've got to find. I suspect it's in a lake bank somewhere and it connects to the main line. I just have to find it. And is there a valve there? Sure.
or, you know, but I don't know, I mean, it could just be a T, so I'm not sure. The good thing is, if we can find that, pinpoint that location, can we cut in another valve that's in a lake bank, if not disturb any road?
Prefer,
So we should want to revisit this.
yeah,
Okay.
put that in rotation through. Let's see if we can come up with a way
Sure.
to find that
The witching wires?
reasonably well, in conjunction with the Juniper guys, because they're connected to that too. And Chris is all over that system all the time, so.
Do we have any idea who installed it?
So that would be. I don't know if I did that.
Yeah. The leak that we had on the roof, we showed it on paper, see it all. We had to take down 7 feet to find out. That's a couple of years ago.
The line, yeah.
So do we have any, I mean, the owner doesn't have any idea.
I can look back, I don't generally get in the weeds of who installed those construction lines, but I've got enough connections in your system historically that I feel like it's certain.
You know, when you look at this, this is ancient history.
Right.
We had one pump covering the whole community except 7, 8, and E and F. When Tropicare was here, they actually installed a makeshift pump where the new pump is sitting now, the north pump. I remember Tony Romano briefing that pump, and then he came to a meeting and said, you know what, we're gonna need a bigger pump.
Yeah.
Just like the guys, because I think you need a bigger boat.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we worked with Lennar and they funded the replacement of that makeshift. I think there was no actual schematics for that makeshift pump. I think you just put it in and put it in the system and, you know, it was never really anything other than just installing a new pump to assist the other pump.
Right.
But that causes a hammering effect.
So there was always supposed to be two pumps. There was always supposed to be two pumps.
Yeah, but that pump that he had wasn't sufficient.
Yeah.
That pump that was put in was installed at the request of the CDD to help facilitate until the community was built out.
Built out,
right.
So it was always a temporary condition. But any piping is such, so the infrastructure for the mainline distribution of, I'm gonna call it reuse, so it doesn't get confusing. So irrigation in my community or my vocabulary is on your lots, right? It's for the under lots. Reuse is the distribution of that irrigation water from your lakes or the mainland river. So the reuse distribution system was constructed with the infrastructure of each subdivision. So each phase that got built. That would include any of the mainline pumping along the legacy that would connect to any of the pump systems. Whether it be the makeshift sort of temporary stand, fill in the blank until the rest of it got built, or the one that's directly across from the pumps. So my guess is that there's an interconnect between my mainline system and somebody's irrigation system along those lake banks that I don't know about. They made a connection to it, and that's why you're seeing when we close the mainline valve, it's still getting into that system.
Just take a revisit.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to move on to Juniper community update? Get a read from Juniper.
Okay.
You guys get a lot of concerns from time to time, but in our area, we appreciate what you're doing with Ken, who oversees working with you guys. You know, our area looks nice, so. You know, I mean, we don't have as much land, but the part that we have can keeps us up to speed on everything in the meetings when he runs the landscape joint committee and so forth. We keep up to date on all of that information. We're glad to have you new guys on. I'm sorry I hadn't met you earlier. I haven't missed the January meeting, otherwise I would have met you, but good to meet you today. And your report?
Well, first, let me introduce, we have Dave Thomas, he's the branch manager for Juniper.
Throw your hand up.
Bill Fisher, he's our account manager, and then we have Chris Wade, he is our irrigation manager for the common areas, and also the homeowner ones. So we're here to talk about the common areas.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As far as day-to-day, we are currently still on a bi-weekly mow schedule, and a 6-week rotation for the community for detailing. That is in effect until April 1st. I guess technically March 31st since it's a Monday. Things have been rolling pretty smooth. Mowing's been on schedule minus a few days of rain. And trimming has been pretty smooth as well. As far as the Rosetta report from the other day, so it's in, I've grouped it up into a couple of different categories. There's a few proposals that we'll send over as soon as I get a good graph and numbers on what is needed. And then some of these I'm kind of just considering comments, Justin saying, hey, you know, this is looking nice, or continue to do this. So that's kind of a normal maintenance is what I put it under. And then some of this is numbers in here are just like, hey, tweak this a little bit. So I put those in like a tweak category. And then there's a few of them that happened, at least the last 3 reports where he's saying that we have valve boxes that don't have lids. And those are actually irrelevant to us because they are city water meters.
I'm talking about that.
Yeah, so
It shouldn't be on the report.
yes. So my goal is to try and update this every week we can by adding comments to each number saying, hey, this is done, well, this is scheduled this day. That's pretty much it for those. Any questions?
No, you're making good progress. We had the report in January, we just about cleared up all those items, the January report. We had some carryovers because some of the proposals, we have some areas around the bridges, and some corners within the community on the common property that the grass is just past maintenance, we have to replace it. In some spots, so we've got like 4 or 5 proposals coming across. They're minor as far as dollar value, but we need to get them done, so we'll be seeing those and get those approved so we can get that fixed.
Okay.
The maintenance items you're referring to, he kind of brings them into his maintenance schedules. Okay, so it's not anything really more extra to do. It's just making sure that these get looked at and, you know, handled, fixed as he's doing his maintenance throughout the community. Other than that, I mean, I think he's keeping up with it. It gives me a weekly report, tells me which ones have been completed. So by the end of about 6 weeks, we pretty much have them all pretty much accounted for. So that's the progress we do. Brian is already in the loop on that. He knows what's going on because he's on all the emails. But one thing I'm noticing with these guys, they're more organized. Like the fact that, you know, when you ask them when things are gonna get done, they pretty much can tell you their master schedule. So we've improved significantly, not just for the common area, but I think for the whole property in general. And a lot of it has to do with organization and communication. So they get some kudos for that.
I will ask, with regard to Legacy Boulevard, the trees look like they could use a good shaping up. We've got some overhang. The crepe myrtles need to be trimmed, because they're kind of gone wild along Legacy. They need to be cut back. I've noticed in other developments where they're cut back now. Do we have a plan to address that? If there's something I missed, somewhere along the way that we need to change?
What happened was, Jay, about 2 years ago, Juniper came in and said, look, you guys are not pruning these properly.
Yeah.
You shouldn't cut them at the knuckle.
Oh, the crepe myrtle?
Right.
Yeah.
You need to let them grow, and what they do a pencil pruning on them, and they've already done that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but they do,
Okay.
what's called naked going up to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. They should be cut back to the knuckles.
No,
So
no. Go ahead.
what I'll say about that is that maybe used to be, or it was like the standard practice.
Yeah.
But not going back every year. There are new studies showing that is not healthy for the tree. So what is considered the standard practice now is pencil pruning. So you cut all the new little saplings that are growing up, you trim those out, you let the mature branches kind of take over. And eventually years down the road, the crepe myrtles will not be trimmed anymore. They will get to their limit and they won't start growing all these new little skinny branches from the knuckles every year. So that's kind of the standard practice.
Okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was mentioned a lot.
About a year ago, I challenged that and, basically they're correct. I mean, you shouldn't be cutting them at the knuckle. Now, unless the crepe myrtle is right next to the building,
Right,
like the clubhouse. They murdered those down to the knuckle because the shoots, the limbs were growing into the building.
yeah, okay,
So in that particular case, it's appropriate for that.
okay,
In our particular case, since we don't have any buildings, we want to let those trees flourish.
sure, okay,
Because they flower and they look very nice.
okay. Sorry, I missed that. Now, on the overhang, because we've got, the trees got an overhang to the roadway, along Legacy. Is there a plan to trim that back?
Well, they're on the hook for anything that's over 15 feet. In other words, it's gotta be kept, the height has to be at least 15 feet
Okay,
off the road.
yeah, going up,
Right.
so a big truck could go
And
under.
the sidewalks can't be less than 8 feet. If you got limbs that are hanging below 8 feet, they have to trim them, part of the contract.
Okay.
And you guys know that, right?
Yeah, that's something
You guys are
that
aware of that.
we do in our rotation. So if it's hanging over, the guys, they'll make sure it's not, impeding walkways or like you said, 15 feet for roadways. So I'll double check the roadways, but for sure, 100% they're trimming all of the walkways up to 8 foot so that people can walk comfortably.
So I noticed, because I go.
This morning when it hit my forehead, that had to be over 8 feet.
Taller than most.
John, you're too tall. But I know it's tough. It's not something that every worker that's walking down the sidewalk has the equipment with them to go up and trim. So it is a kind of a specialized task, and I understand it. Didn't know. Probably getting too hard.
Yep.
I have a question on number 2. It said that these are the things that need to be done. And so is it you that is gonna move the dog waste station, or is that someone else that moves it?
As of January 1st, we do not do any of the dog stations anymore. That is, I guess, contracted with someone.
We have a company.
I thought we brought out that company in to do the dog station.
We'll
to
be
get
the
them,
ones that move the
get them more
little
current.
No, so, Hector, who's doing the golf cart signs, he's gonna move it, but because the golf cart signs are pending, he hasn't been. He still wants to get that one figured out.
Thank you.
And since January, when they took over the first, I haven't seen any complaints about food stations. Those with you.
You're right,
I haven't seen any complaints about that, so we have a separate company that's retrieving the bags out of those stations. What Joanne's referring to is the food station, in phase 1 in the park with the pergolas. It's right next to the bench,
right.
and I'm sure that gets a sweet smell. In the summertime,
We do that thing.
just refresh that whole park in there and it looks nice, so we need to get that moved. That station got to be moved.
One of the parks is also quite busy compared to other ones.
Yeah, that one.
And the dog stations it's almost not enough. It needs almost to have a second. At least there was one park, but I'd leave it to the doggy guy to tell you, what that status is.
Yeah, if we need to do that, I'm okay with that. I mean, if we need to add another one,
The only problem is where you put it that doesn't
that
cost.
doesn't cause an issue.
That's where we left it.
Right, right.
We're gonna move this one and see.
Okay, but that's in motion.
That's in motion.
Field inspection reports.
You could skip past that one.
We just did that.
We'll do that, okay. And, Ken Walter, your monthly reports.
Okay. First, thanks to the homeowners for showing up today. We have a lot of items on this agenda and, we appreciate your attendance. We are in drought conditions. We've been in drought conditions now for, I'd say, the better part of a month. And there's not much rain in sight. Maybe tonight we'll get some. So they've been dealing with drought conditions. Chris is monitoring the irrigation and making sure we're getting water out there at least twice a week on the properties. Haven't really seen a lot of complaints about common property right now, but, we're just coming out of winter and going in spring. We got a real cold February, so things haven't really started popping until now. Kudos to Juniper for keeping up with the landscape schedules. They're able to make sure that their workforce gets things done on time, weather permitting, which I'm happy to see. Now we're gonna see growth rates starting to pop because we're gonna get days in the 80s. So what we're trying to do here is a couple things. We want to keep our property looking sharp. We want reliable irrigation. Those two are important things to do. And the third, we want quality landscape maintenance. And I've talked about this time and time again with these guys and the ones before. When you do those three things all year long, we'll have a winner. Those are the three goals, okay? So in February, the detail crews have been working, they were working on the sidewalk shrubs. Those are the shrubs that interconnect the faces and the parks. Weeding and trimming. Weeding is in capitals. Weeding is in capital letters because that is always been a root cause problem in here with the impact on the quality of our landscaping throughout area job. So they know I'm always asking about the weed. Right now, Legacy is looking pretty well maintained. We expect Juniper to maintain this attention to detail throughout the year. Results are everything. Homeowners expect that place to look tip-top shape. Legacy bullnose refreshes. Now, we did 4 this past year. Now we're concentrating on a few more on the wet side, specifically sandstone and Funston. You'll see proposals in the package today to do those refreshes. And then when those are done, we'll move down past the circle, and take on Carambola. Just so happened to get an email from a homeowner saying that there's a line of sight problem in there, and I know about that. So on the list of things to do. So that will be the next round that we do on that side of the circle. We've had some very nice compliments about the improvements on those corners and the removal of line of sight issues. Kudos go out to Hector. He's our person that did the power washing on Legacy Boulevard.
Yeah, that looks.
He did a great job on those curves. Obviously, we can't get the rust off, but some of it did dissipate. So those curves haven't looked this good in a long time. So I thank him for his work. Okay, moving on to March. Detail crews have been detailing the park, bullnoses on Legacy Boulevard. Additionally, the shrubs have been sprayed for weeds. Had an outbreak of vetch, VETCH. It's a disease weed that gets in there, and they've already sprayed to mitigate that problem. I mentioned the bullnose projects. We're in year 2 with the bullnose refreshing on Legacy Boulevard, and have proposals for board approval that we'll talk about later in this meeting. These proposals are for the corners of Sandstone and Funston, the west side of Legacy Boulevard. And it's sort of a mirror effect because we did the east side. So we'll be able to finish that whole area with these 2 proposals. Okay, let's talk about irrigation. Oh, I'm sorry, before we get to irrigation. We have an item that's been on the Rosetta report for a long time. It has to do with the erosion in the pond bank in phase 6 near the bridge. Right now, it's a home for alligators, but we're not going to disturb them. Okay, they're just gonna have to find a new home. We're gonna fill in that erosion in there, get it compacted, get it fill in there, and then put sod on top to fix that problem. I mean, you can see it from Legacy, that's how big it is.
Yeah.
So it's been an eyesore, if you will, we're gonna fix that. Okay, let's move on to irrigation. Chris Wade has been focusing on wet checks and the troubleshooting any irrigation drops that affect the common areas. Is keeping up with the common area, making sure we have irrigation cut and adequate coverage. We experience occasional decoder and solenoid replacements and repair of any wire that may have been compromised. Remember, the wire in the common area is less likely to get compromised because it doesn't get the traffic in there, like on the homeowner lots with, you know, pools being put in, or garden beds and that kind of thing, which affects the wire. So we're kind of unique in that area. So we're doing our part to maintain all the front and irrigation equipment and common areas that service Heritage Isle as a whole. In other words, we're responsible for the pumps, the controllers, which we have 21 controllers in here, which is the whole front end of the system that pushes the water into the whole apparatus, which services the homeowner lots. But we have the front end piece of that. And we're budgeting accordingly to cover replacement and repair of these items. It's in our budget, it's been in our budget for 2 years. We're scheduled to do 4 this year. Done 1 so far at phase F. That was one that just crapped out. It shouldn't have, it's one of the newer ones, but it died on it, so we had to replace it. So what is this irrigation picture look like in the future? That's a big question. Over the past year, there have been many discussions by both FERPA and ICE concerning the age of the irrigation system and the eventual need to replace the underground wiring, especially on homeowner lots. However, the CDD common areas will be dealing with the same replacement issues sometime in the near future. So this is a bill that's going to come due in the future. No official plan to overhaul the existing system has been provided. However, we know that the irrigation agreement of August 2022 between all affected parties, which is the CED, the HERBA, the HIDA, and the terraces, lays out the maintenance and financial responsibilities for the Heritage Isle system, the irrigation system. As such, an overhaul is the recommended course of action, since the root cause problem concerning the 2-wire infrastructure buried in the ground. This is what's causing our irrigation system to be unreliable, is the wire, due to the age of the wire. And it's not the age across the board. You know, you've got the older phases, that's when the age is, and then it just goes down because the other phases were built later. And finally 7, 8, D, and F. An integrated replacement plan is required as to when the overhaul should occur. Cost estimates will be required since the ages of the phases are different. It is recommended that a progressive overhaul approach is considered. I mean, these boards are going to have to vote this as approved eventually. The overhaul could take 4 to 5 years to complete. The worst phases are phases 3, 2, and 1. 3 is the worst. Chris is constantly splicing wire, and a week later, it needs another splice. So you're like, bailing water on the Titanic. It's not going to work. So we're at the point now where we're going to have to replace that wire. Phase 3 is the worst today. It could be worse, and it's not getting better with time. I mean, I used to work for an XO, he told me, bad news does not go away with time. So we have to deal with it. Then it will be 6, 5, and 4. There's issues about which one is worse, and then 7, 8, and that will be the back end of this thing. Again, I can't stress this enough. The root cause problem that causes the zones to drop is the result of faulty and compromised wire. Chris, that's true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And obviously, it's affecting the reliability of our entire system. actual process of replacing the wire is not that difficult. It's not a significant trenching. There's a wire puller system that they will use. All the wire that's in the ground will be left in place. There's no sense trying to rip it out.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to just rewire. Does a couple of things for us. Number one, with the rewire, we'll have as-built. Finally have as-built for a phase that we know where the wire is. Okay, up until now, it's been like a mystery tour. Like kind of, okay, so the as-bills will be important. Plus, we'll have clean, connection between the controllers that push out to the decoders and eventually to the solenoids that operate the valve. Is that correct, Chris? Okay.
And that wiring is a better quality or different, or should last, well, another 20 years?
And it'll be put in correctly, it'll be connected correctly, it's.
Yeah.
Will be tacked.
So.
Yeah.
20 years ago. Next to the pipe, so today it's wire coated, is it a conduit, how is it protected, or what is the purpose of installing the wire today or better than they were 20 years ago? What is the installation?
So, I mean, conduit, I said conduit and that all comes down to money. I like conduit, it is jacketed, it's coated, so it will be sealed, so it will be the correct depth. I mean, actually like to go a little further, but to be safe. Yeah, conduit just comes down to preference and.
Getting conduit in put in higher private areas where there's edging and things where you're gonna end up making it to leaving it just.
The runs, because we're going to go to the battle, there's battle. So anywhere along between the homes, I would like conduit, proposals, different ways, to include that.
It's a shame that this county doesn't have their codes.
No, and Josh Burke, their district manager, at the joint meeting said, really, there's no benefit to putting the continuity because eventually we want you to get in here. And that's a problem. People following wire, that's what's going to go in to do this. Well, it's some 30 years.
I'd like to know that when you create this map of the wire, if it's gonna be proprietary to Juniper, or if it's going to be owned by us, because I'm going to put it in, and they made a complete map, and then they would not share it, which that's why none of you know where you don't get it, they said it was their property.
We'll have to find that out or something.
Yes.
Okay, so the brass tacks is simple. This is gonna cost money. So I've been working with Chris to come up with rough estimates of what this would be like if we just focus on phase 3. The whole phase will be about $365,000.
Do one,
The whole phase with the one. Now, of that,
One phase, like
one phase,
just one
One
phase,
phase.
360, not your memo, but that wasn't real clear.
well, it's a rough estimate.
yeah, I agree. I mean, it did say for just one phase.
It did.
I missed that, yeah.
So
Phase 3.
Now, remember, phase 1 is almost point.
everybody, gets a number about, the number is still rough. That includes labor and all the piece part support to do this. The wire itself, yeah, that's gonna be an expensive item, but it does require new decoders, solenoids, piece part support, and that kind of thing.
Wow.
That's all our part of it.
Right. So our part would be about 55,000 for the culinary.
Just on a rough,
For phase 3, we have Galindo, the loop around the pond. We have all that property that gets irrigated.
right,
We have the park.
right.
And we have the adjacent property to Lakes Boulevard for that berm. That's the 55,000 we're talking about.
Okay, so would a ballpark say, our cost, no, that's, I guess it would change by phase.
Yes.
For our part, because some areas we've got more CDD property than other
Yeah,
phases.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so phase 1 is the biggest. Right. That's the biggest, has the most houses in there.
Okay,
They're like over 200 in there. Phase 3 is 159, I think, at the number. We have a list of all the homes that are in there. So again, I'm trying to focus on the CDD and the budget.
Yeah.
Is coming up. So I think we probably need to consider at least reserving money in 26 to cover this.
Yeah.
And again, it's gonna happen. Phase 3, that whole, all that wire's gonna go out. And it needs to be rewired.
The biggest amount falls to her, right?
No, height. Irma doesn't own any.
Irma doesn't own any.
Irma is only paying money into HIDA based on the agreement.
Okay, so it would be a heightened issue.
Yes.
For the biggest amount at 331, which is a big number.
It is.
About $250 per house.
That's correct.
Kenny, let me ask you a question. We have to do our part first before they do their part to the rewiring.
If we're gonna do it right, we gotta do it in conjunction.
Yeah, so right now, 3 is giving us the most problem. 1 is the oldest, 1 is twice as big, if not more. So that's gonna be a lot of the money for both boards. I don't know how we can stay there and do it over a 5-year period and hope everything lasts for 5 years. I think we need to speed that up.
Well, that's up to the boards.
Well, our decision is our decision, their decision is their decision. So we've got to be ready with ours to do it. Now, I would suggest we push it up to 2-3 years rather than 5. And that way, we're ready to go when they break down.
That's fine.
I would certainly suspect 1 being the oldest is going to break those. That probably where there were a lot of breaks and then all of a sudden 3 broke.
Well, the problem really is a maintenance management issue here. They're spending their time on doing what I call damage control. They're constantly in damage control here.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we went up with the battery packs.
Well, yeah, but that's a band-aid. That's a band-aid. We need to get them in a routine where they're not doing damage control every day and they're doing maintenance on the system.
So do you think if we decide to do it on a shorter period of time, we can talk that into the same thing?
Could be.
I mean, I think 5 years would be ridiculous.
It may be too long. I don't know.
It's a issue where I would hope the three of us, the three organizations.
Oh, really?
One that's gonna be just 2 now, but realistically, we've prepared to budget that kind of money in. And even if we had to go 2 or 3 phases on CDD areas, we could move because we've been building up our reserve in order to be able to handle something like that, right? The other organization, I don't believe have the reserves set up to be able to accommodate moving forward. So could you look at how could you do ours separately from there? Is that even feasible?
Well, that's what I'm asking Kenny. Our solenoids, our relays, and everything done for every phase in a short
Shaking
period.
his head no.
I mean. Yeah, yes and no. Obviously, you could do your parks and run all, is that on?
That's on.
Is it not on? It's on there. I mean, your parks, of course you could go, but then when you're doing jump and you're running common areas back, yes, you could, and you'd incur more of the wire costs because you're running it all the way through there. You know, where before it's being split up between both and running into the beach of the homes, you're now taking all that home. So you would be basically running almost all the wire. Because now you have to get into the common area behind homes. So, yes, you can prepare.
But that would run our cost up higher?
Yes, because then you're paying for all of it. Yes.
Okay, so we've got to come to some kind of agreement to move forward collectively in order to be able to make it as cost efficient as possible for everyone. Otherwise, because the cost is going to be passed on to the homeowners anyway, at some point, you know, in some budget. So we need to, one, help the homeowners understand this is good for the whole community to get this done, and here's why, because we've got to let them know why. And then secondly, we've got to kind of move on lockstep together in order to reduce the cost for everybody.
We've got to come to a legitimate conclusion of this is going to last 5 years. What period of time do we really need to get this done? Otherwise, we're gonna do these Band-Aids. We're gonna go out and buy another 100
Yeah,
Band-Aids.
because we've been band-aiding
Where
for the last 3 or 4
started
years.
a Band-Aid?
In terms of those processors and the other solenoids and all that other stuff, we've been budgeting, you know, 30, 40, 50,000 a year, just what I call it, doing the Band-Aid approach to fixing those.
We're gonna need your help. Okay, letting them know It's not gonna last long.
Yeah, we're gonna need a written thing that one can explain to every person involved, both on the boards and frankly, to the residents. They need to understand this needs to be done for the effect of the whole community, and it's gonna be a major cost factor. You will get, costs coming up from HIDA, and there'll be costs on the CDD side. They're gonna, so we need to help everybody understand this is something that needs to be done. It's about the age of the community and the wires underneath the whole system. And rather than just do Band-Aid fixing, we wanna approach it as a major project to update the whole thing. It also takes off a major burden on the homeowners long-term. So we need an approach that can be really well crafted and written that talks about what the current system has, what the current system should be, and then how it should be approached by the whole community.
I think that.
You've done that.
Yeah, when I start looking at this, because it's a serious issue.
Yeah.
It really is. Since the age of the phases are a lot different.
Yeah.
I mean, phase 8 is only what, 12 years old?
You're not even facing that.
Not even that,
They're
eight is about
Phase
7,
7,
8
I'm in
years old.
phase 7, that's what, 12 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, that wire in here is still good.
Yeah.
We don't need to rewire that right now.
Right.
Okay, we need to focus on the phases that are in jeopardy
All right.
with the wire.
You did that. 3, 2, 1 is the oldest,
It's the oldest.
and that's the one really with the most problem.
Right.
And instead of doing it over a 3-year period, might have to be done over a 1-year period.
Well,
Yeah.
that's up to the boards.
Well, that's a selling job now, because.
You're gonna have to sell it.
So you know what, you want your house to break down next, or you want to get it done the right way? The right way is to start it and finish it. And yes.
It would also appear that this project probably shouldn't be tied to Juniper.
It's
But
not.
Juniper is bound, I understand, that's what I'm making a point, is that this does fall to the boards and that. And Juniper, while they can assist us and work with us, they're not necessarily going to be.
No, their part is gonna be, this isn't gonna last.
Right. No, they're gonna last, and you need.
Yeah, if you guys wanna do it in 5 years, it's not gonna last 5 years. I'm just getting a.
Understand, and we may change the landscape contract
Maybe you missed.
every 3 years.
I'm saying, we need to start like last week, okay? I'm saying it probably should be done in a phased approach, because some of these properties don't have a wire problem right now. But in 6 years from now, phase 7 and 8 may have a wiring problem there. Okay, so to me, I look at it more as a progressive type of a project. Now, there's pros and cons to that.
I mean, I like the word progressive, but we should do it as an age problem, period.
An age problem, right?
Okay?
Yeah.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 3 being dead now, 1 being the oldest, 20 years old. And, we need to get a number to do it all together. It might be a little bit cheaper to buy a wire at one time, or whatever it takes. But I think that's the way we need to sell it.
I know, and we've gotta make sure that the homeowners understand the impact of our community. We're trying to do it in a way that reduces our overall long-term costs, but it's still gonna cost a big chunk of money. And if it costs roughly $360,000 for one of the phases, realistically, we're talking about a couple of $1 million.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah,
We're talking about a big overall project that could cost us $2 to $3 million.
right.
Okay, now, here's what we're gonna do. There's three million, let's put it up at 3 million, and say, here's how we wanna approach it.
Well, we got
To keep our costs down.
That's exactly what.
And if we do it in this way, we can keep the cost down from 3 million, we can maybe, we got it 2.2 if we address the issues quickly over a period of time. And that may be frankly the realistic approach. And
It's gotta be the only approach, because as soon as they start on 3, one will break.
yeah,
It's just.
that's the nature,
Well, you think it's 3 old,
Look, now, you know,
When you try some.
look, Chris didn't have to do this, okay? But we have a good rapport with them, and he sat down with me and went over these numbers. So we at least have something to use as a benchmark,
Yeah,
okay? I'm not saying that that's the most accurate number. It considered to be a margin of error at least 10 or 15%.
They've already said that they're gonna get over this for it, so
They have to get it,
we
so.
have to do that.
yeah.
Okay,
But the onus is gonna be on Hyatt. Now, just for everybody in the room, in their board packet, they got the same brief for their meeting tomorrow. So it's gonna be addressed again tomorrow, that
Good.
the Hyatt has the predominant responsibility for this.
Mhm.
Right. We fall in as a component of the project, because
This project should probably be done as an independent project of the Juniper landscaping normal activity.
right, it has to be,
It has to be, so it is going to be a standalone,
yes.
and that's the way I want it to, that's all I was trying to go for. Is it needs to be, appreciate Chris's work, but it is going to be standalone.
they'll be one of the bidders.
We know what we need in order to get going. You're the irrigation king of Juniper. Take the lead, help Ken and help Haida. You know, as well, to craft some information that we can share with the community.
This is where the joint landscape team comes in,
Yes.
because that's where you have all the parties and part of this team
Right,
that know what they need to do.
yeah, that's like Bob said, I think we're in the CDD are actually in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
To handle,
But
this.
actually, we're,
And this is not going to hit us,
We've been putting money away for equipment for years.
yeah.
and we've been.
We've been building our reserves up to make sure.
Appreciate that.
We do this.
The other boards which I was part of before, did not like putting money away.
Right,
Because that has to raise your fees.
but the other board is going to be the one that's going to have to deal with the lion's share.
Oh, yeah, it's their wire.
Yeah.
But the answer is yes, but the other thing to consider when we're using vendors is who's gonna maintain it once it's in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like
And that, to Joanne's point, that's where we've got to have the schematics, so that no matter who handles it going forward, we hope it's Juniper, but if it's somebody else, we still need schematics so that we've got a track record to be able to follow this stuff. So we don't have to do a lot of.
It needs to be in your proposal.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like, it's not normal to have irrigation schematics for everybody's house in all these common areas. I don't want you to think that you didn't get something, maybe you should, I think that's not a normal thing. But you can, if you ask for it upfront, something that you're receiving.
Having 3 years from now, we've got to analyze something that blows up, we're ready to deal with.
Yeah, and what I would love to do is to take the as-built that we already have. And reuse the line into those drawings, you know, the survey. So there's someone's colored sketch that they did on the back of the truck. And that's usually what you get, right? And even if you get that, you're like, okay, close enough, doesn't have to be perfect. That would be helpful to do it.
It kind of brings me this issue of, we are addressing this in the.
And I knew about it, yeah.
Okay, one. Here. 15 April. That's what, couple weeks,
The big upgrade in the light.
the lights. Okay, the lights on Legacy Boulevard are gonna be replaced with new poles, new double fixtures. New 400 watt bulbs.
Comes about from pre-planning. It started a year and a half ago.
Right.
Planning,
So now, if you wanna know what it's gonna look like, it's at the corner of the Lincoln and Legacy, where the is changed.
yeah,
Because I called them up immediately and said, you gotta replace that pole.
right.
Okay, we're paying a tariff for every pole on this street. So Glenn Benintendi, he called me back and said, yeah, we're gonna have somebody come out with new pole. So I said, that's great. So that's the exact kind of pole we're getting.
Oh, that's gonna be that's the new pole that's coming. So it's right there where they carved
That's
everything.
what it's gonna look like.
Ah,
Okay?
good.
We can get a picture and send out.
There you go, yeah, we report it.
Okay.
Okay. On tax day,
we've taken up a chunk of time. So ladies and gentlemen, we have to move quickly through a long laundry list. So we're gonna swiftly move through the rest of our agenda because we only have another hour and a half
You guys can blend.
before we have to be out of this room. So we need to move this quick.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
All right? Help Kenny out.
Always.
Always help Kenny out.
Thanks.
I don't, gentlemen, lady, you need a 5 minute break or something, guys? That's all right. Take 5, and literally 5. When we come back, we're running through the rest of this paperwork.
We're taking a recess. All right,
5 minutes break. Don't leave us. It's always, because we're this is, it's the nitty gritty of what we have to do behind the scenes. It's not sexy or anything, but it's the work we gotta do to make sure the communities will be okay.
He's a commissioner on that.
We want to move through this. We've got an hour and 20 minutes. Here we go. District council meeting update, from the district council with regard to, any laws that got passed. I know there's something that was, I read your report. Everybody get the Kutak Rock newsletter email?
Yeah.
You gotta get it back. Okay. You should all get a list. Make sure she gets on the Kutak Rock list. This is an easy list. About every quarter, just about what's going on up in Tallahassee with regard to laws that may impact CDDs. There's something in the mix right now going on that may require some additional CDD stuff. You recall that?
Well, it's our Capital Conversations newsletter is the mailing list that goes out. I don't have any specific report, beyond what's in the newsletter, but we are tracking. Sorry?
There's some legislation going on right now that may require some additional effort from the CDD. I read in your report. Can you add Joanne LeBrecq to that? Make sure that she gets email to make sure she gets that, Brian?
Yes, I have my notes.
Okay, all right.
But no, absolutely, we can get her added, but in the interest of time, I have nothing other specific to report.
Okay, great. We'll be in touch when needed. We'll make sure Joanne gets that newsletter and gets up to date. I suggest everybody read that when they send out this stuff. It's really important stuff that may happen and impact us.
Well, they're doing, I read it and it said that they're gonna replicate Doge.
Yeah,
Okay, which means that they're gonna go out after wastewater and abuse.
right,
And they're gonna require that to be reviewed for all special districts.
exactly. That's right. They're gonna try to do a Doge on CDDs, statewide.
Nothing's passed yet, but yeah, that's what they're
It's
proposing.
not a document.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, we're still, fairly early in the legislative session. Nothing's been passed yet. We're keeping an eye on it. But, if there are any changes to the law, we obviously will update the board on that.
Okay. Appreciate you. Take care. District engineer, Anna.
Before Anna starts, Brian's quick question. What's the big deal on that was?
The fish kill was, the resident reported that there was some fish in the grates. Aquagenics went out, they removed, several tilapia. They did comment that there were some that they couldn't remove. And they would just periodically be maintaining.
It wasn't a repeat of what we had a couple.
It wasn't like the past.
No, it wasn't an oxygen situation where the water levels dropped drastically and then you had, hundreds of tilapia. It was just a concentrated,
Yeah.
They were in the grates. So there was maybe 20 from what was reported, so they removed several.
Maybe they were in the grates.
So the storm grates in between the ponds, you could look down and there's just
They washed into them, not on top, inside.
inside.
So.
I do have some pictures
I'm
from.
not interested.
Please share with us.
Just curious.
Let's move on, please.
Not on the great.
All right. Bridge review update.
Okay, so I have a new potential bridge guide to give us a proposal for inspections and then any repair work that would come with that, and then replacement of the decking and the handrails to a composite material.
The company was going to, they were trying.
So East Coast Knox, who installed it and has done all the maintenance work for years and years, they're turning in the favor of retiring after years. The company they were selling to was not interested. That didn't go through, so that entity was not interested in coming out and giving us a proposal for any of this work. Reached out to, like I said, Rush Marine. They've done some other facilities here in the area, and so I'm hoping that I'll be successful with those guys in getting somebody come in here and give us the numbers on that. Make sure.
This bridge of material getting. A lot of the pilings and the metal holding onto them are, I don't know if they're any good or not, because I couldn't stretch that far in water. Since I went down and looked at the rest of this stuff. And so then it's telling me the problems we're trying to get somebody. Now, wood will replace it, I really want to replace the composite, I don't want wood anymore.
Okay,
And,
we didn't talk about that in the beginning, but yeah,
So
we
the
didn't
inspection,
do it, we wouldn't have this problem.
yeah.
the inspection include the pipe, stringers and everything underneath, that's what.
Bob,
And me and then it's gonna be expensive.
Got this right?
yeah.
When do you think you can have some sort of rough estimate?
For the completion of it, so a current estimate, I won't have, I mean, if I can get them to sign up, I would think I would have something by the May meeting, because they should be able to do their inspection by then, give me a report back and give me that estimate.
Let's shoot for that, man.
Yeah, we should go to the meeting today.
So, yeah, so short of that, if you guys will remember and entertain me for a minute, we did a bond refinance back in the year of 2018. So during that exercise, there was an estimate requested from East Coast Docks to replace all of the decking on the five bridges. The price at that time was $63,000. So
53,
63,
63.
62,250, so $63,000. And then in that following May, they gave it as an estimate, again, in round numbers, of like $50,000 to replace all the handrails on the bridge and the approaches. So in round numbers, call it $115,000,
Now,
2018. So from a pricing reserve perspective,
you better count them,
if you add 20%, you're at like 140. If it's 30%, you're 150. If you add 50%, numbers are crazy, it's 170 for all five bridges. Now that's just, that's not pilings, that's not any, so it's just replacing the decking and the handrails. But that would be the number that I would estimate for a budgetary exercise right now without having anything concrete current given to me.
plug that number in.
Yeah, so I just, like I said, I added 20%, 30%, 50%. It was 7 years ago. Now, from a budget standpoint, you guys are comfortable using that.
It's in sheet 683. Yeah.
And then for one period of time, can we do that? Can we do that by quarter or something?
Well, bridges pretty much have.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to do them all at the same time. Some were built, you obviously there's economy of scale.
It's cheaper to do it at one time.
Yeah.
Average should dictate how we raise the money.
Okay.
But from a purely budgetary standpoint, that's where I came from that. So depends on what you guys are comfortable budgeting. Like, do you want to have a 20% increase on the previous number 7 years ago, 30%, 50%?
Seven.
So that's a 50.
Realistically, things are going, things happen.
So material changes, but really,
For wood, get out.
but the labor price is what has changed.
That will change because of the price of lumber.
Yeah.
Anna.
Which means to be on the first then.
I'm sorry.
I heard you. Well, is that some of the decking is already breaking, so it's not like we have a ton of time. We gotta get something done, or something's gonna get hurt.
Okay, I would say wherever it's breaking, let's get that repaired now. If we can find somebody to get that done.
They'll come out and say, hey, here's what needs to be done, and then they'll give us a quote for that work also,
Right,
for the specific stuff that they see during the inspection.
right.
The second part of that is I asked for pricing to replace the handrails on the abutments and the bridge and the decking to composite and give it an estimate for that to be inspection.
So they understand they can they can earn their way into a bigger contract if they hurry up and get what's broken right now, current and fixed. Okay.
Are all the bridges the same size?
They're all about 82 people.
And each one's gonna be about 35 to 70,000, what would you say?
Yeah. Most of that, basically estimate.
So we probably need to go higher than 170.
I mean, you could do around 200. And again, once we get numbers, we can give you something real, but this is what I have based on the previous data.
We got 5 bridges there, and 70,000 would be 350.
So before, the previous numbers we were given, the 113 was replacing all the decking and the handrail on the 5 bridges. That was total. And then I added, 50% is 170.
Okay, gotta move on. Sidewalk repair.
So there was a question that got circulated about what items should be included in the sidewalk repair. The report highlighted in yellow, anything that was rated a 3, 4, or 5, those are always recommended to be, corrective actions. There were a few in there that were rated 2s. Normally we pass on them, but they had some settlement issues and there weren't a ton of them. There were specific ones that I also highlighted that would be included for,
Okay. And ballpark cost? Oh,
so.
that's right, we've got the sidewalk repair guy.
Right.
We got it on,
Yeah, you.
yeah, we got Hector on retainer, so it's good to handle that.
That's correct. And then there was a little bit of confusion on, I think, the reporting and my price versus the precision sidewalk guys and it getting cheaper. So it will get cheaper in essence because I won't be doing the sidewalk inspection
Okay.
review anymore. So we initially did it, we did it this last cycle, and remember, we do it every 2 years. So we did it in 2024. The next report would be in 2026. But the board is elected to go forward with revision, great decision. So their inspection and repair work will be included in that. So I will no longer do sidewalk inspections unless it's a one-off and you guys need to.
But be included in that so that there's an engineering, a report coming to engineering so that you're up to speed about what.
See it, and I can copy.
Yeah.
In version of what they've done is great.
Yeah.
And would suggest that somebody walk with them or at least walk the area that they have corrected. There were a few spots in, I think it was Big John, that they marked they had done, but they just missed it. So they, I think, came back and corrected it, but it.
Stand that. Once you were a sidewalk guy, we'll have you. Yeah. Okay. So John, keep up and do the walkthrough.
The plan was all approved. I want to know how do we deal with an individual report of something that's hazardous if it's not in the section that's being worked on?
They need to call.
Yeah. Or wondering, are we going to be able to take care of that issue when it's not in the one that's being worked on?
Yeah. That one on call, Brian sent it to me. I either go and check it and confirm it. Yes, there's a few here where it is not breaking it and we get Hector.
I'm tempted to go spray paint with Belfrin because it's and just been playing with things, maybe walking around the block. The path and
That's a one-off, but it's gotta go to.
They're gonna
You can-
add on their list.
You can contact, email her and say, here's, the president did this, can you check it and copy Brian always?
Brian just said that he's including that in precision time loss. Next, but there is this in your packet here, he said he committed to it. Which is my. I think.
So in other words, on your contract's gonna be de-scoped.
So my contract will go to looking at the curb lines because look for your, and then your stormwater facility. So, to your point earlier, actually Funston, I'll give just a quick second. I did go out and look at Funston. I didn't have my hook with me, so I too couldn't open the structure, but if you broke down right, you get an open your grant sign to me. So what I did is I laid from it, it was full of a bunch of palm fronds. I pulled out the ones I could. And you know, that happens, right? So I can inspect it today, we can clean it tomorrow, and 2 days later, I can have stuff in it and debris. But that will still continue for the scope of the second drainage system.
Okay? You can pass the good word on everybody on your block, all right?
It's being addressed.
It's being addressed, always is. All right, we're cool. You done? All right, you, my friend.
Nothing major to report. We have our website audit, your quarterly compliance to ensure that you're within your ADA requirements. We did make some website updates also behind tab 3 here. So I am for the board's direction, working with Joe LeBrec, on enhancements to our websites as well as, communication in general to the residents. So our quarterly newsletter will be prepped to go out within the second or third week of April.
Okay.
And that quarterly newsletter will list all the projects that the CDD has completed since January. So all the projects in January, February, March. And then I have some additional notes that will add, you know, some alligator verbiage in there. And I think there was another thing that I will request.
What can go in there, and if we could get it before the second week would be great, because he said April 15th is when they're gonna do the lights. So we'd certainly like.
We just,
We've been about to We're gonna be able to.
I want a picture in there.
I got you.
Yeah, so I will, again, I'll try to expedite it, but I'm in budget season right now between all the districts. I will, it'll take as long as it has, so I promise that. And that addresses the quarterly newsletter. So me and Joe will work on that together, make it nice and fancy.
Okay.
And then we'll send it to you for final approval if you would like to add anything to that.
Excellent. That's great. That's a good contribution. That's a good contribution.
you went. Pictures.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, if you want to take a look real quick, so we no
Okay.
longer have the California
Okay.
standard picture. We actually are only Heritage Isle photos. So we created this little slideshow. And yeah, I got some photos there.
That's nice.
Oh,
Working
nice.
on website improvements.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Good thing you didn't do the rust spots.
That's right.
My parents are both from Michigan.
Back to you, Jen.
Okay. That was good. Okay, now we're doing business administration, guys
Okay, sorry.
and ladies, excuse me.
Okay.
You still, you know, one of the guys. Need to have a motion to accept the minutes of the audit committee meeting that was held on January 28th that we participated in at that time, that you all did. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes of the audit committee?
Make the motion.
Second. Then moved and seconded, moved by Goldstein, seconded by Walters to accept. All in favor, say aye. Any nays? Okay, motion passed. Consideration of the minutes of the Board of Supervisors meeting on January 28th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from January 28th?
We have some revisions.
Yeah, I have a correction or two to that.
Okay, what correction do you add?
The real quick, I
Well,
got,
the first one was that Jay opened the meeting last week, and that was,
That would be corrected. I was not there.
that was also my correction, so you're good.
That's what I
In
figured.
the printed out minutes, we did make that correction.
Okay.
So, back to you.
All right, so we got a motion to approve.
I've got one.
the other one.
Oh, we got another
Go ahead.
correction.
You got more?
No, go ahead, I was gonna just back you up.
Oh,
Go ahead, I think I know what you're gonna talk about.
Okay. Line 274, it's, not looking right at it, so I'm not gonna say it. But it needs, I would like it to be amended to say that Ms. LeBrecq asked for clarification regarding the current restriction of bikes on the sidewalk.
Hold up, you gotta run that back to me.
I've got it written down and give you afterwards if it's.
Uh,
Ms. LeBrecq asked for clarification regarding the current restriction of bikes on the sidewalk. This basically gives a little more of what actually was said.
Gotcha. So you'd be looking for a motion to approve the minutes in
yeah,
substantial.
looking for a motion to approve.
I make a motion, we have,
Okay, get a second. Goldstein, LeBrecq made the motion, Goldstein made the second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, ratification of our operation O&M expenses since December through February. We get monthly report from our accounting department on all of the various bills and stuff of the CDD. So that we're able to read that stuff monthly and know what bills are being paid. So if we saw an error or something that we wanted to question, we could call the accountant, or we could call Brian and have him look into it. He can answer that for you. Can I get a motion to ratify the O&M?
Actually,
An O&M?
I have a question and a problem with the OM budget, which is the February 1 through February 28th
Okay.
listing. Listing, which is, the list from School Now. There are two items from School Now, which I assume is that ADA audit report on our website. But we paid twice the exact same amount. And looking up the invoices, they're absolutely identical. And yet we have two of them that are for the same $384.
They should be different on months, John.
No, they're not. If you look at it for the period covered is the same. Subscription from October 1st to September 30th. I think somebody just see here. That's the period that you're covering, those dates.
Right.
And then the other one, the difference is 10/1/9/30. Well, 1 October. I mean, all I'm asking is that I look at it, and if I was an auditor, and again, we'll go back to audits.
Right.
We talked about having an internal audit of our own bookkeeping some point, but that's another issue. I'm trying to move it along.
Gotcha.
But in this case, this looks like a duplicate. And the total is exactly the same.
So what I think happened, they put the wrong invoice into your packet.
Why would there be two? Are we paying that much twice? That's a lot of money. For an ADA audit of our website.
So it's a quarterly. It's a quarterly.
It's quarterly, but it's the same quarter.
Right, so I think the invoice is wrong, but if you look at your accounting, which is your own insert, it labels one for October and one for.
I saw that.
Right.
But that's not but that's not what I'm
The
saying.
invoice is incorrect, yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
that's all I can tell you is that's what I've got to work with.
Yeah.
So we want to approve.
Brian, we'll look into it, get back,
Approve it.
I would appreciate it if I could at least get a commitment, you'll look at it and
look into that and
clean it up if
get
necessary.
a note back to John about what I can find out. Okay. Let's approve it based on the adjustment.
All right, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Goldstein,
Okay.
LeBret seconds, all in favor, say aye. Great. Let's go to ratification of the soft replacement proposal. That's business item number 8, sod replacement proposal. Kenny, can you bring us up to date?
That was the $500 small job.
Small, okay,
Near one of the bridges, I think. It was part of the Rosetta report.
yeah,
Yeah, he brought that up.
yeah,
So I think that's what that,
we took care of that, I signed off, that, sure,
right. So then actually, he was over there last week putting it in.
okay. All right, cool, ratification, move to ratify. Can I get a move to ratify on that, so I will make a motion. Motion by Small Walters, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, discussion about proposed budget. We talked today about one item that we've got to add into that, but it's like likely 2 items. One is about the wiring. If we want to address that sometime this year, I would think, I would hope that we could begin to start that wiring connection thing by the fall.
Well, we've got no choice. We're gonna lose the summer.
Right.
Because of the rain.
Yeah, so I want to move on that, but discussion of the proposed budget, you've gone through the budget yet with
Yes,
Brian?
him and I sat down, a couple of weeks ago?
That's right, first week of March.
Yeah, you took the first run, I'm gonna.
We took a
another
first
one.
cut of it, and I'm concerned about the bridge now. I think if you look at our budget for the past number of years, we've only been reserving $8,000 for the bridge repair.
Yeah,
And there's no way for me to determine how much money was put into the reserve balance that we have existing, because it loses its identity. When the year closes, if there's anything in reserves,
it just
it goes into a pooled reserve.
Right,
Right. So I would think with the bridge, if it's gonna be 200,000, we're probably gonna have to dip in the reserves,
yeah,
and then for the next 3 years, pay back.
That's probably where it has to come.
Yeah.
Right, okay, if you wanna do it in one fell swoop, okay,
Yeah.
which I would say that's what we need to do.
okay, now we're still recouping, we are in the 3rd year of recouping the money that we spent to build the new irrigation thing. And so we're in the 3rd year right now, so with
We're
that,
doing 35,000 a year, but we need to keep that in there.
yeah, oh yeah,
We need to keep it in there because, we have a major problem here. Again, if we lose identity when it goes into the
reserve.
okay.
Can we, after I'm talking him with regard to what you're saying, can we add in terms of our reserves that are unused into going into the next year? We want to build a line reserve, so if we've got money left over from something specific, we want to keep some specificity in the reserves as well.
Are we set up that way or we set up the pool at the end of the year?
Well, so, you know, you have your budget that's allocated in between line items, but ideally you just have, to be specific, you're carrying over, 582,000 in your general fund and 452,000 in your reserves. So close to $1 million, little about $1 million.
Is on the reserves. Could we break that down into line items so we
really kept up.
Well, you could, so I think what you're saying is, you know, let's say for the bridge, what if you wanted to do all the bridges next year, what you could do is pull out of that 452,000 and
Yeah.
carry over 170,000 specific to that line item. And then that way you wouldn't hit your residents with an assessment increase.
I think they're asking basically that it's just documented as to how much of that was for the bridge, so that they know when they look back, how much they had taken and expected to be spent on bridges. It's not really creating a line item, it's still full, but it's just documentation to know that you can refer back.
So that documentation is found in your annual audit. So when the auditors go through our budget, they look at every line item, they see what you budgeted, they see what you spend. So historically, in every audit that we received, you could go back and see what was budgeted.
So that's something we could ask you to do then, if we ask how much was put aside for the bridges, you'd be able to give us that.
Yeah, you would just look back for, you know, X amount of time and say you budgeted 8,000 a year, here's 8 times 5.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think the accounting system is set up for the pool process. And that's where I've had some question in my own mind, you know, I like to be able to differentiate that money in that pool to see how much we put in. Now, for instance, the pumps, we had 2 years, we did 60,000. And now we're down to 35,000. So we should have at least, what, 155,000 sitting in there for the pumps,
Correct.
right? I'd like to be able to get that for the other items in there. So
Yeah.
We probably do. He said you can go back at the end of your audit, you got land figures for you.
That's okay.
whatever we could do there, just, we need to
The
take a look
reason
at
the
that.
pool it is, when we have a problem like this, and it's gonna cost 170, 200 for the bridges.
Right.
And we only have 50 in there. Okay, so it's pooled, we can take it out. If it wasn't pooled, we would have to raise the fees.
Right.
Well, we're gonna have to raise the fees anyway, because
Yeah.
we're gonna have to be a payback.
But meanwhile, we can get it done.
We can get it done.
But we can raise the fees over a 5-year period because now they're brand new and they're gonna last at this.
Right.
Okay, so now we know for the budget purposes,
Right.
Yeah,
we were
can
gonna,
break
we
up
were,
the
we were gonna put in.
like we did for the irrigation system.
Right, so we were proposing $50,000, which actually is 58,000 for the budget, and then the next 2 years after that to pay this back for the bridges.
Right.
That way, we're building up the reserve again to cover future repairs
Right.
down the road, that we have adequate money.
Right.
Because no matter what they do, it's gonna have to be replaced again so many years down the road.
That's right.
Anna said 2018, that's 7 years ago. Here we are replacing again.
Well,
No, we
what
didn't-
we're putting in now, we might get more money back.
Yeah, and we,
we might.
replaced the except.
But I'm saying, it's not in perpetuity. It has to be pressed.
Everything we have is gonna break down.
Right.
Exactly. Well, we have to pay back into that.
Exactly.
The problem I think with them, Mr. White, could be think we're gonna have enough money left in that if we do all the bridges.
Well, it depends.
It's got 400,000.
It depends on the speed of the project.
Listen, that wiring's gotta be done probably before the bridges.
Problems. Right.
Oh, we gotta have a price on both.
Okay. All right, we're good on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
So, May you'll have, or not May, June. When
No, May.
May
May
is
the
your
20th
first
is the
budget.
next meeting.
Yep.
We'll have a big budget to look over and then I will go through that budget before the main meeting. Line item with Brian, like I did last year. I go through every line item, we talk about it.
Going up.
It's gotta go.
Going up.
Kim was first draft, I can second. And then we come to the meeting in May and then we'll all have a chance to look at. And you'll get that before the meeting so that you can review what the total budget presented is going to be. That will be
Correct.
right. I'm just trying to bring up
Yeah.
the.
Yep.
On
I
the
mean,
process.
things that,
Okay, we did the common area, CDD common area wiring thing.
Yep.
We talked about that. Call sign. We've had to we're gonna step back and have a conversation. What do you call it, Brian, that special meeting we want to
Public
have?
hearing, yeah.
We're gonna do a public hearing about what we're including on the golf cart signs. Brian says, and he's checked with council with regard to that. If we have a public hearing, that way we clear up that's something that's been given to the public prior to, so they'll know, they'll get a chance to understand what we're doing and why. And that council has guided that process with Brian. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a, public meeting. We'll announce that at the next meeting. We will have a public meeting. We'll have it as part of the meeting. We'll just stop at, have a public hearing with regard to what we're doing about the golf signs, what's gonna be on the sign before they're installed. So that'll be part of the main meeting.
You know, it's amazing, after all this time, people still think we live in a golf region.
Yeah.
We don't.
I know. Easy pumps. Okay, sidewalk repair proposals.
Yeah.
Consideration, we've got something specific,
We do, so, behind tab 8 board, and I'll throw it up.
have a
I'll throw it,
sidewalk repair proposal, yeah,
yeah,
precision sidewalk safety.
so. They, we're working with Precision here, and we're gonna talk about some budgets as well on here. Precision gave us two costs, one proposal to repair all the sidewalk hazards between, phase 1 through 4. For everything, including, areas that aren't technically labeled as hazards. And they gave us one for like the immediates as well. And so the first one that you're looking at, the total came out to, I believe it was 72 and some change. So if you're looking at this map board here, the orange is labeled their critical items, and then, all the other items are, I think they labeled it. Purple represents hazards created by concrete surrounding storm drains. Blue diamond designates hazards previously repaired utilizing a grinder. And then the yellow was something specific, I don't recall off the top of my head, but the yellow was basically, I think, Alana, what is it, a 1/4 inch or something that needs to be addressed?
Can't find the legend on their map, to be honest.
Well, no, what's like the requirement deemed hazard? Is it a 1/2 inch, I think?
Anything over a 1/4 inch.
Anything over a 1/4 inch. So the yellow, I think, is within those confinements, and then the orange are like anything over a specific.
What's the limit on the step height that Precision can take care of? Can they handle any step, or is there a limit to how far they'll go before they say better to take the panel?
There is a limit, and they haven't come back to us yet stating that a panel needed to be replaced. They have stated during the.
No, there is one in here.
That a panel needs to be replaced?
Well, yeah, they said they can't repair it because the only way to repair it is to replace the slab. And they're not set up to do that.
Where is that?
Somewhere in there, it's got yellow.
We had to bring in a special company, I remember,
To do
to
it.
do one slab over here on, Loconte.
Yeah. They gotta bring in some more land, though.
Cost us $4,000.
Right.
On table 3, there is something called broken sidewalk panel, or even drops and damage.
Figure 3. So example 1 and 145, so that is your big hazard, so that was your oranges. Severe hazard on the window, the location is previously flattened by a grinder, method is not ideal for sidewalk repair since it does not result in accurate slope or no hazard. Clearly the grinder also does significant associated. These locations reviewed are included for repair by PC to remove remaining portions and provide a proper slope. But I guess if that's what they define as replacing a slab.
Just based on reading. They say they stopped measuring anything over 2.
Yeah, 2, so.
Right. Okay,
But that's the only one that I saw in the
Yeah,
packet.
they mentioned this.
right. All right. So
Phenomenal job.
They do.
this is the areas that they're proposing, and if you recall, board, last year, we discussed doing this between 3 years, so we're right on par. We are a little over what we originally planned to spend, which was $54,000 on this line item. They're proposing, if you would like to address all the areas that they have labeled over here, you're looking at, if you sign by April 7th, a range of 72 to 75,000. And then, by May 22nd, 76 to 79, so the price, kind of increases a little bit there. It is, works completed 8 to 10 days. They do have a pretty quick turnaround, which I do appreciate.
That would be the entire.
Yeah.
Phase 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Do we have, I know that, do we have a guess as to how often we would need to have them come back and repeat?
We have a smaller company for the one-offs.
For the one-offs, that's what I wondered.
That actually does the one-offs.
How long would be the next interim before we would need to do the whole?
The rest of the development.
Yeah.
That's hard to say.
Well, I know it
But
is.
I will
That's
tell
why
you,
I'm just
I will tell you
curious.
one thing, an area that will probably have to be revisited is the sidewalks on Legacy because of all
Yeah.
those oak trees they planted.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that those roots eventually are gonna resurface and pop some of that stuff up.
That's what dictates it.
Yeah, most of the ones that have been cut are already showing there's roots under them popping.
Right.
So that's just time.
Aging community.
Brian, in phase 1, did they exclude Kimberly? I mean, there's not one dot on Kimberly or Boddington Way or Kendall.
Phase 1 here.
Yes.
Yeah, and phase
Oh, here?
1, they did all of Legacy and they did some of the parks.
They did
No,
do,
so the physical phase 1, did they exclude Kimberly?
Yeah, because it's empty.
Are we supposed to think that there's not one thing on Kimberly?
no, so they did this whole, process. So if you look, they went top, left, boom, and then they got to here, they reached their max. The max budget, they had already exceeded 54,000. So they stopped once, they
But you know-
realized.
Did they survey it at all?
So
Like, did they
they,
have it surveyed, that they have the data?
they were going to, no, they didn't survey it. They were going to give us a proposal if we wanted to have them finish a survey of everything else. But per discussion, they're like, that wouldn't be super beneficial because these other areas could pop up and the report would be somewhat inaccurate if they weren't doing the repairs immediately. And it would have been a cost that the district, could incur. I think she said she was gonna send a proposal for consideration anyways. I don't recall getting. But this is basically the threshold, for our budget constraints. So they reached the 72,000 and now we have to consider what we do with this.
So I'm gonna vote on everything that doesn't include my street.
Yeah, right.
Good.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about it?
I have to tell
I'd
you,
like to get this done, and I think that'll go in the newsletter. There's another improvement we're doing for the community, because as we age, we have to keep spending more money to take care of that.
That's why I was interested if there was like you're okay for 5 years.
They aren't gonna be able to give you that kind of guarantee.
No, nothing is for
Yeah, I would guess,
spot cleaning in
I would
between.
guess that you're probably gonna be on a similar cycle, every 2 to 3 years.
Did you say that they did not give us an estimate if you wanted to do all of that phase, including the fix it, it wasn't touched either?
Correct. Yeah, as of now.
Yeah, they had exceeded the original amount that he had showed them what our budget was.
Right.
So they got to that and a little bit more. And I think we do this, we can then judge them if we want to have them do the rest of it.
This is your options for just the hazards. So you're looking at 72 to 75 range for that April. If you just wanted to focus on the hazards, you're looking at 62 to 65. Budget wise, you can't afford to do the 72.
Yeah.
So if I look at your specific line items, so in the general fund, you allocated for sidewalk maintenance and repairs, 45,000 in your general fund. And then you allocated in your reserves for sidewalk and maintenance, another 30,000. So you have the option to either use the 75,000 that you allocated just for those specific line items, or you also can, find that within your general fund. So we budgeted 30,000 for pressure washing this year. We only used 18 of it.
Right.
So we can utilize the remaining 12,000 to add to the 45,000, as well as me and Ken discussed. You do also have your infrastructure annual inspection that won't be considered this year because it's a biannual report.
So you have 15,000 there that you can also allocate.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we ought to move on this.
Well, we have no choice.
I think it's a major store problem, and it's something we can get done. And it's another thing that we can say, great, good job by the CED and the newsletter.
Clear if we're gonna do the whole thing or if we're gonna just start with what they've got here.
We're gonna do what we got, and then we're gonna look at, after we get that done, we'll look at doing the rest of it, and we have to build that into the budget for the next 3 years.
Remember
Well, it
now,
was a
this,
3-year
hold
plan.
it, Brian. This was a 3-year project.
This is the project right here.
Yes. The first year, we did Legacy Boulevard sidewalks and the parks.
Right.
Now we're doing the phases with the sidewalks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's year 2. I sat down with Brian, we went over the budget figures, and we have adequate money this year to cover this.
Right.
And I think we should do that.
Yeah.
This company is very reliable and their quality is.
There's no doubt we should do this. Actually, I think we should do more.
This is really a no-brainer.
It's the only company that can do.
Curious, it's gonna be, we're gonna say we did phase one, our phase one, we did all phase. It just seems like I would wanna know what the additional cost would be to do that complete phase. And then see if we have the money to do that.
You have to build the money into the next, beyond this thing, we have the money was here. Then we have to build it into the budget for next year, the other phase.
Well, I have to
Well, we got to, I'm gonna get it done.
verify that it's.
Now it shows now can't really know all it was to say.
What really is, they have standard or whatever they call it. It really is pretty flat.
We don't know if there's anything that's supposedly or not supposedly, but it is the old street.
Understand, but they must have done it, you know,
Kimberly has been,
finished it.
Kimberly has been worked on previously, like through other, like when I've been.
Sure, over the year.
They
Sharon's
usually
been
see
helping.
signs, the grinding and everything happening.
Well,
So maybe it wouldn't be that much of an increase if there's.
Oh, but it needs to be.
Exactly, and out, so if you do the full one that you come from to get this whole thing, so that you can say we did all.
Makes no sense that there's nothing wrong here to do these guys streets. I think they must have done it.
Just real quick, food component. So they went through the oldest phases first, and I know that street specifically might be the oldest street, but they have stated as they get towards the back of the community, they are expecting to see less repairs. So
Yeah.
that means that next year and next year's budget, we did prepare to do this over a 3-year span.
Sure.
This is year 2. Next year, we should be able to finish the rest of the community.
Right.
That's the goal.
I think she's making it, I guess, I'm making like the old street. That's the street that everybody's street when they come into your townhouse. Well, and.
Okay.
So it may need absolutely nothing.
Well, the answer to them is, we'll take that to the next phase. We're doing this section right now.
Right.
We're doing everything.
Well, did they expect that?
They must have been expecting.
I think they reached,
They must have expected.
I think they reached their
They
budget.
reached their limit.
The budget list, yeah.
And that's, you know, maybe we could afford to get it done and see if they would have done all of phase 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Having done multiple. I would be dumbfounded and shocked if they didn't actually survey them. And they put together a budget number for you based on things that they put it. That would be my guess. There's no way they went out there and knew where they were going. We did a bunch of. So I gotta think they did the whole thing. We just need to ask for it then. And then you would need to know what the resulting budget line item is, if you wanted to do the entirety of phases 1, 2, 3.
We do need to.
I would want
the repairs.
I would like us to move on this now while we gather further information. I think the gathering of more information, it just helps us inform ourselves before we do the final budget for next year. But I'd like us to move on this now. Can I get a motion? I'd like to make a motion to remove.
It is a large sum of money. There are no other bidders.
Right.
So we are allowed
We're dealing.
to do.
We put it out there.
We have to, wait a minute, we have to bid it out if it's over 200,000.
Right.
$195.
Anything? I'll make a motion that we move forward with this.
Motion from
Can I get a
Greg,
second? I'd like to make a motion to move forward with this proposal.
second from Ken.
Can I get a second? Ms. Kent?
Yep.
Second. Oh, you second. Okay, I didn't hear it. All right, motion is seconded. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any, none of them?
I'm against it until we get a price for camera.
Again.
So you had three
So we got
votes
three,
yes.
that's 3-2. So the motion passes.
So opposed was Bob and Jim.
I would imagine they've gone there, but maybe they didn't say nothing.
If they did, that's fine. Go the other way.
Give Bob an answer that did they go on the other streets that, can't ask them about cameras. And do they have a report to show the streets that they went on that didn't need our help? So we
I
voted.
suggest we make our motion where we check that out first. That Camberley, we should check that out and see to satisfy Joe and.
The motion.
Is there a way to make it so that we can?
Let's do.
We're gonna have more. No, we just.
Not next year.
No, we're doing this one.
I
This
get
is the
that.
role, and then we go out for the bid. If we like, and also too, you wanna see what they do, then you can, you know.
Already seen what they.
If they came back and said, oh, we checked out those roads, there was hardly anything, here's your report, it's only an additional $15,000. I'd be saying I'd like to do the whole thing versus, so I'm just wondering if there's a way to make a motion to say, yes, what you presented, going. However, we'd like the option of knowing what the additional would be to finish the roads in phase one.
Here's the problem.
Go ahead.
You know, respectfully, you had a motion, it passed.
Right.
If you would like to make another motion to have district staff on a not to exceed of 15,000 to try to gather a report and make additional repairs, we could, we would have to look at the budget and see if that's gonna fit, because we
Right.
do have line of sight issues on, you know, bull noses that we're also doing. We have a
Right.
couple other projects that we're working
We
on.
have to take into account other things we got to spend money on.
This is a pretty good amount, and this is year two. We originally discussed and planned for
Yeah.
3 years to do this. So I do take your point full to heart. I will follow up, maybe to Anna's point, knowing her reporting, maybe they did inspect the whole area. Maybe they didn't.
I'll make a motion that we find out, Street Kimberly and the other streets they left off here will cost us.
I'll second the motion.
Let me get that
I'll
motion.
vote in favor of that.
So,
So that's an additional thing that we could,
Absolutely.
you wanna add a not to exceed
I'd like
amount?
to, I hope we have enough time to look into it. Cause we are under a time constraint on proving this.
So we've approved that. We've
We've
approved this.
approved the money.
No, we've approved the project.
Okay.
You know, we've approved the original proposal.
right.
We've
What
approved
we're asking for now.
This is
I
adding
want
on
to make
to
sure
that.
that Camberley is.
In case this is actually left off, it should may not be.
Can we add it, inside of another motion that you all just made? Do you wanna add a not to exceed if we find it?
That wasn't 15,000, the way it's going.
Okay, not to exceed
Because that's a
15,000.
big area.
If Camberley and whatever street, did they miss something or something? But Camberley was important to us because of whatever it was important to
You'll
us.
feel that.
So we've got Camberley not to exceed, Camberley or other streets that were included in this survey that were not to include, 15,000 more.
So
So-
we're wording it such that if it comes in that it's under 15,000, they've got to go ahead if this motion goes.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
If it's over that, then.
We can add it right
If
here.
it's under that, Jay has authority
I signed off.
to increase.
Thank you.
So what's
Okay,
that?
sure.
There's not authority.
Can I get a vote? Can I get a vote on this motion 66 made? Aye. All in favor of that last motion that covers that not to exceed 15 to add Camberley of other streets there. Okay? Everybody happy now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want everybody happy? That's the way it goes.
You got it.
All right.
Done.
Now we're into pond enhancement proposals from June.
That is the erosion area.
That one you talked about on the pond, that was erosion that needed to be fixed and added in the landfill or some land or something need to be added there.
Yeah.
How much is that?
Well, actually, I was pleasantly surprised.
Just do
I-
it, Truce.
Well, I took Chris out there and he gave us a proposal, which I thought was reasonable for what needs to get done. He came in 3,900.
Oh, wow.
It gets better.
Okay.
Juniper comes in 2,200. It's about the same work.
Labor. Rock and roll.
I think it's because I told Juniper, you wanna get this bullnose work, you wanna get this kind of work, you need to go in there and sharpen up your pencil.
Bless.
Okay,
God bless.
because your number ain't working. They went back and they came in at 22,07.
So you making a motion to
I'm
say, let's
moving on
Juniper
this,
do it?
that we approve the Juniper erosion repair Pond 6 bank.
Done deal. Can I get a second on
I'll
that?
second.
The second about a break, motion made by Walter. We take the Juniper amount to do the pond enhancement proposal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Done deal. Juniper is doing that. Patrick will sign that before we leave there.
Okay.
And bull projects. Can we say bull rather than bull projects?
Bullnose.
Yeah,
Okay, we've got,
because somebody gonna say, what, that because of bull project.
okay, we have proposals from both Chris Drews and Juniper.
Okay,
This has to do with the corner of Funston and Legacy.
wow, that's his street over there.
Right, it's
That's
just
Mr.
adjacent to
Funston.
7, and Phase 8. So, again, I had Chris come out and he gave us a proposal to do the upgrade just like the other corners we've done. And he came in at 3,494. Lo and behold, Juniper comes in for the same work at a lower amount.
Gave the proposal.
Juniper did,
No, who would you, who made up the proposal?
their branch manager,
Bill?
Dave.
Dave.
And
His
his,
crews is usually the cheapest.
well, you know, they want this work. So they're willing to eat some of this.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay, so they came in at 2024
done deal.
for exactly the same thing, so I say we approve this, and I move to approve the
Walter's moved. Can we get a second?
Juniper 1,600.
Walter's moved.
1,600.
the total amount, it's 347 extra for the irrigation, they're gonna have to move around.
Okay,
So the total amount for Juniper is 2,024 versus the amount for Chris Drews, which is 3,494.
Alrighty,
So I
guys.
move to get the Juniper proposal approved.
Okay, you got a second by Goldstein. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Done deal.
I'd like to make a comment about the one that was done on Quick, because they had put the plant right in front of the beautiful rock wall, and I mentioned it to Walter. Next thing I know, I came home and the plants were no longer covering the wall, so if we could just make sure that the plants, when they do them, are keeping that rock wall visible.
I'm all over it.
Ken,
Thank
Ken
you.
is on top of.
I basically want to give you credit for fixing it. Thank you.
You
know what they can
you
do
can
for
see,
John?
and we're all thankful that Ken is on top of
That's
anything.
how you have a good rapport with them.
God bless it. He puts in a lot of.
Now, if you call, they get bad, you know, like, I mean, you're not gonna get much.
Following up on our meeting, do we have any supervisor requests that supervisors want to add into things that are?
I do.
Oh, you're. I'm sorry.
One more. So the other one we have for the bullnose is on Eagles, with Golden Legacy. And Chris Drews came in, 3,404. And Friends at Juniper came in at, the total amount is 2,155.
There you go.
They got
All in favor?
I move to get that,
He moves that Juniper get that.
right.
Bob second, then all in favor?
Aye.
All right, done deal. Any more?
That's it.
All righty, I think that's.
Signing off today, and I'll let them know.
All righty, now we got the supervisor. Any comments? Go ahead.
I'd like to commend this board, especially Jay, for the way we handled the alligator issues. And education is the answer, of course, but you can't educate everyone. And that's the problem. It's Florida and things like that happen, but due diligence and we are, by law, have to follow the law. So We are a special district, we are governed by the government, and that's what we tend to do. So I appreciate Jay handling that very, very well. He appreciates people understanding that eventually. And it doesn't pay to call us names on Facebook. That's all I do.
I think the meeting went great today, guys. I think we're all on it, and we're all focused on getting it done correctly for all of our residents.
So where does this magic lead us to? I didn't get a chance to finish the budget discussion, I need 2 minutes.
You got it?
Okay, what does our pro forma look like for 2026? Well, it funds all the admin costs, all the FPL costs,
Yeah.
which include the tariff increase within lights. Sure, we've already factored in.
Right.
The utility costs, we've adjusted that correctly. All aquatic services are covered, all landscaping services, including mulch, we've got that covered. We're renegotiating the cubic yard. Me and Brian are working with them, we're trying to get them down a little bit on that one. It includes all the sidewalk pressure washing. If we can cover that this year, we're gonna have more money next year. Good, for 26. Sidewalk repair. More bullnose refreshes, probably 3 to 4 next year. Reserve, irrigation pumps, irrigation controllers, landscape trees, shrubs, and bullnose refreshes. And sidewalk repairs in the reserves for next year. And we factored in another 50,000 for the bridge. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Right? And I also talked about the 55K for the irrigation.
Right.
So if you boil it all down and put it into the machine, with the 2% increase in the 4, is that what it is? That boils down to $69 more a year. Per house.
That's the winner.
The reason it is.
And that's less than last year.
Well, it is because, remember, we had the one-time payment
Right.
for the tariff payroll
Sure.
with FPL, that's
Right.
not in there. So we were able to garner that savings, even by not having it in the budget.
Right.
But we're covering the new stuff, so it's a swap out there. You follow what I'm saying?
I do. The only thing I have a question with is some products. We've got to get rid of those weeds that are,
Well, then that we need to know what that is.
we're gonna have to get another estimate from them.
From weeds.
Yeah, because the test that we tried was okay, but we have not really finished up with doing the rest of the community on that. The original pricing they gave us was 47,000 to do the rest of the community the same way. People aren't happy, people are unhappy. We need to sit down with them and come up with a better solution.
So you don't like the first proposal?
It's grown back too fast already. Because I look at it every day and I see what happens. It's the water level that dictates how it really looks from anything else.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest complaints that we have in the community, other than the alligators. So everyone who lives on water complains about that, and we tried it, so we invested X number of dollars.
Right.
It's okay, but there's gotta be a better. And they gave us a price, but number one was way too high, and number two, it's not really doing the job. So I think that might be the only thing that we have a question
That's a
on.
good question to add into. You think, how much did we spend on that already?
We spent like 4,000, they wanted 47,000.
Did a couple of small tests.
Yeah, but the 4,000 has already grown back, and it's only been a few months. So we gotta have a better.
We gotta keep at it all the time.
Yeah, the only problem we have, the right way to handle it is the way we can't handle it, that's to take it all out of there.
No, that's gonna be a
We can't
problem.
do that, so we've gotta find a better way to make it more feasible to look at. But you can't look at the back of your house, these things.
Yeah.
So the people are right when they say it. And it's right when she said there's nothing on paper that they can't be ripped up because it's never planted. But we can't do that. We can't take a chance of getting fined. So we have to come up with a better solution, and if Aquanautics can't come up with it, we'll have to call somebody else.
Let's
But that's the only thing that I think.
let's see if we can get a report on.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised they were.
And, report on that and have that for our main meeting. Just so we got a handle of something that, you know, it's something that obviously a lot of the people, you know, and we know who they are. They've come to our meetings and, you know, they do have a concern about that. Here again, that's the nice part of the newsletter. If you guys get that going, that's one of them. And then that way we can talk about here's what we're doing. Because we do a lot of stuff that people just don't know that we do, which is, you know, okay, we can do a better job of letting them know what we do so that they're bitching about it all the time. we don't want to bitch about it. The problem is, we are doing this stuff. And we are talking about it and working on it, so.
There are things we can do, but Continent is just not following through on getting those answers.
What do we need? So the STEM rush, because I've done some educating on this and I've
Yeah.
actually addressed it on a couple of meetings.
Yeah.
From what I know, they can only keep it in a bunch, and what I actually spoke to another aquatic company on this last week. And they like to try to put it in specific corners.
Well, that's what we tried to do, and that's what we did on 4 areas around the bridge to the road. The problem is it grew much faster than they said it was going to grow, and we're really not getting a lot of rain. So, it partially worked, partially didn't work. He had another way. The other way is to spray it, and it takes forever for it to die down. We haven't done any spray, which he promised to do. He promised to stand there and become a more manageable without getting rid of all of it. He hasn't done that either. That was one of the reasons we hired him, because of the plan that he gave us to control that.
Yeah,
Well, you and I discussed, we're not doing.
yeah, okay,
Well, he needs to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
yeah.
I noticed,
I mean, this is not good here, and that he's not doing what we asked him to do.
no, Brian and I, confronted him with that.
That's not good.
And, they are expensive, they're not cheap, they gave us a price that's kind of ridiculous, because they didn't tell us what they were gonna do for it. And all they ended up doing was charging us for time and labor. That's not the way to get a job done in the whole community.
Yeah.
Nah, you're right.
So when you read the budget, I was waiting for the budget to come out actually, so that's the only thing I see as a problem, that we're gonna increase.
Right, well,
And it's gotta get done, the complaining has just been going on for too long, and it's all legitimate.
what do we have, 45,000 in here for that? 44 something?
44 and some change. They did state that they will not be increasing next year due to all the situation. Yeah, 44,360.
Get somebody else to say, you know,
We could always bid out work. What was that? Aquagenic.
We're willing to pay a reasonable amount in order to get it done. We just need to know what a reasonable amount is, and they gotta be showing up.
they got to come up with a plan, they'll work, they're just not coming up with that.
We could always
Get in
bid.
there and chop it out in section and say, hey, that's great. I said we could try it, that's why we allocated $4,000 for it. Well, if it only works for 3 months, it's not a plan.
Yeah.
Have we seen any algae issues in our ponds this year?
Oh, I don't know the technology, I heard it from work, the one right across from the clubhouse.
Okay.
And only area to see anything. Well, that was cute. If you get rid of it, you're going to have algae. Well, you know what, I've lived here for 15 years, and it was nothing when we moved in, I never saw any algae.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good information. All right. If we bid out this project as well to other companies.
We'll be able to review it and include it in the budget, as well as have a discussion with somebody. Have them at our meeting in May, so we'll have a lot to deal with, and we'll get that done. So, because I do know it's an irritant to a broad number of people who come to our meetings.
It's an irritant to people who don't come to it, right? It's not about it all the time.
I will say one thing, I'm very pleased with Brian's work.
Brian who?
Right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Back then.
He is really stepped up.
Yeah.
When we went over the budget numbers, we spent a couple hours going over, and he has a handy dandy spreadsheet, every type of contracts that we have. So we got exact numbers in there. So he's embraced this whole issue of fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah.
Brian, the learning curve is over now.
Now you're a veteran now, this,
And now you've got another half to take care of.
Correct.
Congratulations.
The contract had been key for the proposed budgets this upcoming year.
Brian's been hard at work, but I wanna cite him out because I want all of us to congratulate him on his wedding this past couple weeks. He got married. He got married. He's a married man now. He's getting serious about life. He's married. He's doing his work for us here. And he's got other CDDs that he worked with, but this is his best one. He said that.
On record.
And we're on record. So we wish him well in his new marriage. Congratulations to you, my brother.
Thank you.
With that, oh, do you have it? Go ahead.
Thank you. Because at the last meeting, you basically assigned me communications. regarding the alligator issue, I have a question. I know Fish and Wildlife is all public information. I did it myself. I got a 5-year calling of all the things that were called in. Their names, exactly what they said, and who approved it. So my question is this, to help show that we're doing our job, could it be part of our monthly report to say that how many were called in and that the CDD approved them, or just whatever public information there is? Can we publish that also?
I believe some of that, I think it's well intended. I think the more you keep bringing that up, the more people will come out of the woods to bitch and moan. I honestly believe that. I wouldn't sweat. That's been our experience when we've talked about it, is that we get more people coming out of the woods. I do believe you can put something small, like a couple of lines that says, we've stayed on top of the alligator issue, and here again, remember, should there be an issue with one, call Brian, and here's his phone number.
Okay, my only other comment would be on the minutes, like I had to, or I requested to amend what I had said. I find them extremely vague. If anybody looks at our minutes, you have no idea what was said. Again, it just said, Joe asked about bikes. What did she ask? Don't know. Nobody responded. I'm wondering if we can do a better job. I know it's not going to be detailed, but just a little bit better job of actually what was communicated, and I'm willing to help with that. So if, I know you record the meetings, so if we didn't wait until the 2 months to go over that, I'm willing to look over it before that and listen to the recording and see if we can bring it a little bit more, obvious what was said.
Yeah, I'm open to that, as well as now that we're recording these meetings, I think we're gonna be posting them on YouTube, so I personally don't think that your average resident is gonna go look at the minutes, they're gonna wanna watch the video, so if you're putting the video out.
And I agree,
You know what I mean?
still, historically, I don't know how long you're going to keep the videos, whatever, but like I said, I just want, rather than waiting the 2 months to see it, if you have a draft sooner than that, then I could look at the video and help with the communication.
When do you write the draft? When do you do the minutes?
So the admin does the minutes like as soon as I'm done with them, so when I
They
get.
do it based on the reporting that you provide them on the meeting, right?
They do it based off of the notes that we
The
take.
notes that you take.
The only thing that maybe council could weigh in, typically what I've been informed, everything has to come before the board first for consideration as if it were brand new. So it's not that it can't be done. It's not like I can't give you, if you're like, hey, can you give me a draft of the minutes? But typically that's why they're usually presented for consideration at the meeting and sent out duly in advance.
Right.
Because whatever is presented at the meeting is supposed to be new information.
There's no way that can just be all the draft. So there's very, I mean.
I think so. I have no opposition.
I do know that others.
No, I think, you know, if she wants to pitch in on helping out, you know, correcting or getting the draft ready, I don't see any issue with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're not in a litigation.
Oh, I know, but
what's different about it.
that's why good he answered. It's okay.
And then you could also create outside of Rosetta, you could just create a Gmail for Heritage Isle CDD, and then you could create a YouTube account and just upload these videos so that no matter who's here in this chair, Heritage Isle CDD will always have that.
That will be done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you create that?
Yeah. Gmail?
That's from the height of what it worked out.
Yeah, Gmail. I've done that for a couple of communities. That way they can manage their amenities separate.
That'd be interesting.
Management would still oversee it in the meantime, and let's say if there's a transfer of power, that email goes with it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, board members could elect to have,
Member gets every evening.
yeah. It's a free account. No,
Honestly,
yeah.
Seeing that we've got 10 minutes left, I'd like to.
Break out the bottle of scotch.
Yeah, right.
I was going to throw in, because I've been doing it, is that there are still a lot of locations in the parks where the trees went down a number of years ago.
That we have replaced
They have
yet?
not been replaced. They made a try, Juniper did, with a handful of trees in one of the parks, but
What part?
that wasn't particularly successful. And it just bothers me because I just appreciated the trees that are in our parks that have grown so well and do well. And when they went down in a half a dozen locations, we just left spots open.
Yeah, we put in, it's going by, I think at the end of 23, we put 18 elms in
Yeah,
Where,
throughout the community.
yeah, and I have no idea. I've only seen
Different
the ones,
things,
I've only seen the ones around me and I've
Yeah.
only seen two.
so you're saying Park 4 needs them.
Oh, I know there were 6 oak trees at least that went down during a hurricane a number of years ago. And they were all simply chainsawed up and the
Removed.
spots removed. And that has always bothered me that we didn't make more effort to restore the park and give those trees a chance to grow.
It needs it?
What?
You think it needs it?
You've got some
A lot of
holes,
trees
they're
we
old,
never replaced.
yeah. What?
Well, I'll get with,
We never
I
replaced.
think
Yeah,
the-
and I understand, you get a football, I know the reality, but I'm just.
Well, but part of the reason we didn't- the reason we didn't replace those is because there were so many trees in that park, and it was choking out the trees that were there.
yeah.
And it was, you didn't notice, filling in, it was causing some other problems, so. There's a time that you can't change your
Saying
mind.
the phase 4 park, or are you talking legacy?
Legacy, we lost 37 trees, never replaced.
Yeah.
well,
It looks full.
I don't.
we, over the last couple of years, I think we moved somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 loblolly pines were going into hospice, which needed to come out anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll probably take another drive with Chris Drews in that, because the tree removal thing, he probably will give us a better estimate on that. It's great.
And I,
We'll do another run.
I just know of those particular spots where those trees are missing, and I'm sorry they're gone because it was a part of the look of the park that they had them by the benches.
You're probably right.
Yeah,
And I'm sorry, and it happens to be the park I see every day, so,
no, I hear you.
You should see the job they did in the phase 1.
yeah.
Phenomenal. But I don't have a dog, so I don't walk there anymore.
Well, that one had to be done because all that growth, Neil, was diseased and riddled with weeds, and we had to get rid of that.
I make,
Chris Drews did
I
that.
make no argument with that, I'm just saying that was one of the things that I always wanted to get done.
Can you put that on
Was
the,
that particular park,
Kenny will
we'll
tell
ask Ken to get,
Do you know exactly where you're talking?
absolutely, I can.
You give me something.
so they.
Okay, that's fine. One time Juniper was going to do a plot and a map and show where they proposed. That never happened.
But Kenny, he can walk with you.
Mine.
He's got to
And then-
you.
Yeah. Why don't you ask,
Not a big deal, I'd be happy to do it anytime.
Forget
Well,
your
that's the
jacket.
only way you can get to the park, is he's the only one that can put his golf cart on the sidewalk, so you have to ride with him.
Agree?
Just remember, you guys can't be together.
We can't talk about.
all right,
Can't be together.
They can't talk.
Is there another public comment?
Silver, Gossip.
you want, you want,
A couple of things.
oh, we're gonna take one last comment.
We're not getting to that, right?
Speaking of the parks, a lot of the benches are looking kind of shoddy. They need to be cleaned. I don't know who's responsible.
We talked, sir, we talked about that, and I actually went and surveyed, I think, 10 different benches. And it's interesting to look at them, is that the benches themselves are quite clean.
Where people sit.
It's a patina that has got on those white plastic benches that shows the green from the grass and the chlorophyll and the dripping, but the benches themselves are actually quite clean.
Yeah, they need to be power washed.
So we do, and we do power wash.
Power washing, but
And
that's
we're coming up on doing it, this coming year.
right.
We're scheduled for another power wash, and that's really where I was going, was to say it is on schedule to do it, but the benches themselves are surprisingly clean.
Most of them are, they're just a few that stand out.
Yeah, it just looks like you're sitting and
Okay, just a quick item, and you guys are probably already on top of this, but we're dealing with the big cost of the irrigation coming up. Is there anything the state of Florida would do as a grant of some sort pertaining to water conservation by upgrading our irrigation system?
I don't-
Just a
So your system, you're already using stormwater thing, so your irrigation sources, your stormwater is okay.
Okay,
From
I don't know.
the lowest quality.
I don't think we go there. But going back to we talked about phasing in the irrigation and doing it all at once. Human nature, homeowners. We don't replace an appliance until it's broken. We know there's a life expectancy. Nobody knows what that is, including our own personal lives. It's a hard sell to tell people we're gonna replace something that's working just so it doesn't break down. And then in 9 months, it breaks down anyway after it's replaced. Just my 2 cents on that, that people are not real keen on replacing things that are still working as they wear out, and we develop that pattern where it's costing money now to maintain, it needs to be replaced. That's much easier selling just from a whole.
That's what's going on.
Do it over time, right?
That's actually what's going on.
Going on.
That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and
We're mandating.
stone comes up every now and again in conversation. It's allowed, it's not allowed. Blah, blah, blah. I see the condos that actually put stone behind their property or the lake as opposed to mulch. Has the boards ever looked at converting at some point in time to going with stone, which doesn't need to be replaced every year. There's a higher initial cost. Maintenance, basically non-existent if you can get a border there. It's cleaner, doesn't need to be replaced, doesn't wash out with rains and tropical storms and the like. Just don't know if it's been.
We just switched over from one type of mulch to a different type that stays in place better.
It's better, but it still runs down the driveway.
But they go to rocks,
Oh, that's on the homeowner lots. We're talking common.
maybe a hard sell.
The common areas, if it started with the common areas, then the homeowner might say, you know, it's not such a bad thing. Just.
Right now, it's the reverse. We're matching the homeowners.
Everything.
We gotta leave the room.
Okay. We're in the move. We seconded. Sorry. Our public comments are at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, good.
So as we pack up the leave.
Say thank you. I mean, I do a lot of walk. I tend to look down too much. It's nice walking along Legacy and so on. It's all nice and smooth. The trip hazards are removed. Thank you very much. I like the way you're proceeding with all that. The one thing I do notice, and I know this is a nit, but I will just mention it because it was on my mind. Last night I walked on the back gate of home. There's still a lot of crap that accumulates on the sidewalks. And you also see it as you drive down Legacy, all the seed pods and everything. And then the case of walking down the sidewalk, you have the open areas where the grass isn't, but you get crap still flowing down. Maybe there's a better option that we need to have our landscape people maybe vacuum up that stuff rather than blowing it all the way back up so it falls back to the ground again. I don't know. There's gotta be a better option to get rid of that crap that just keeps showing up on the sidewalk.
At one time, they used a big vacuum on two wheels. I mean, yeah, it was used to suck that stuff. Actually, it wasn't a vacuum, it was a blower. They blew all that stuff off the curb with it. And I haven't seen it now for months. So maybe I should bring that up to them.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, I hear you.
drive down Legacy, going back now, you're gonna see all kinds of that seed pods and pollen that are just accumulated on the curb and stuff. You blow it back up, it's gonna come back down again.
I'll bring it up to them.
We're gonna find that damn.
Need a motion of adjournment.
Motion to adjourn, seconded, all in favor? Got it.
Thank you, everybody. This meeting is adjourned at 1:31 p.m.
I lived in Lake.
Let's say.
Like, we just, yeah, this law.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one. Y'all have a good one.